What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Uprise Postgame show. Tonight, we're going to be recapping the Portland Trailblazers losing to the Golden State Warriors. The Santa Cruz Warriors, I think, is their G League affiliate, which is about the level of team we just lost to. Yeah, let me tweet out the stream link. And I'll let you guys filter in here, and then we can talk about what the hell we just witnessed. So first off, hopefully you guys are able to kind of see the problems I've been talking about, because they were on full display this game. We just lost to a better coach team. Much worse players, but we lost to a better coach team. Golden State, they moved guys well. They passed the ball well. Their sets had guys getting good looks inside the paint. And it was getting guys good looks inside the paint off of a pass. It wasn't, one guy having to create something downhill and then score himself or pass it off. It was, guys getting screened and getting free inside the arc and getting good shots on the interior. And then we literally couldn't defend the three-point line. Same problem. We have a very conservative defense because we have a conservative-minded head coach. And guys just don't pressure the ball enough. Guys don't pressure the ball enough. And when they do, they don't know how to pressure the ball. They commit silly fouls 25, 30 feet away from the rim. So we let Golden State get comfortable. Their offense was clicking the first half. We were still, I think we were up by 3 at halftime, but their offense was really comfortable. That's the type of situation where you need to see a defensive adjustment from Terry Stotts and, pressure the ball. Maybe even trap the pick and roll. Do you think these G League guards know how to handle a trapped pick and roll? Pressure them, force them into mistakes, play aggressive defense. They're G League guys, but no, instead we played conservative defense, let these G League guys get comfortable and confident, and they were able to run off the pick and roll as the ball handler and get to 15 feet and hit mid-range pull-ups because we were sagging the big back so much, and they just got they got a rhythm and they got confidence. And then you had Jordan Poole and Eric Paschall absolutely going off. These guys are rookies. Jordan Poole was drafted 28th this past summer. Eric Paschall was drafted 41st, 43rd, somewhere in there. He was a mid-second round pick. He dropped 36 points on us tonight. We did not have an answer for Eric freaking Paschall. Our defense is not good, and honestly, we have. It's not like we have a personnel that should be defending this poorly. It's just a conservative scheme, letting other teams get comfortable, and then just failure to pay attention to detail on the defensive end. We're just not focused. We're not disciplined. The G League roster was 10 times more focused and disciplined than we were tonight, and I don't know. You guys might not agree with me on the coaching, but that has to fall on somebody's shoulders. Maybe it's a collective effort. Maybe the players on this team took the Warriors too lightly. Maybe it's thoughts. I don't know. But CJ was absolutely horrible tonight. He did have some nice passes. When he decided to actually not focus on only trying to score 1-on-3, CJ actually made some nice plays. The problem is he gets too often sucked into scoring 1-on-3 or shooting contested jumpers or forcing something in transition. Some of the plays he's forced in transition have been horrible this year. I get trying to play faster, but you have to know when you can attack the rim in transition and when you can back the ball out. CJ does not know that at all. And you know what, CJ, he'll probably figure it out. He had a slow start at the start of the season last year, but it was obvious that Anthony Simons was helping the team more. CJ was playing very, very badly today. I think Anthony was building a bit of a rhythm in that fourth quarter. Anthony's defense was surely better than CJ's. Anthony should have played the whole fourth quarter, but Terry Stotts is too scared to play Anthony Simons over CJ McCollum in crunch time. No matter how bad CJ McCollum is playing, Terry Stotts will not hold him accountable and sit him during a crunch time run. I feel like Anthony could have 30 points in 15 minutes and CJ could be 0 for 10, and once 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter rolls around, Stotts is still going to sub back in CJ McCollum. That's just how it's going to go. I don't know, man. There's a lot to talk about from this game. It's just an embarrassing loss. A very embarrassing loss. One of the most embarrassing losses I can remember. The fact that we were getting punked on by rookies that have done nothing in this league and we folded was ridiculous. Our offense that second half too, man. Our offense that second half was give the ball to Dame and pray that he bailed us out. Okay, I heard somebody say online during the fourth quarter, we can't blame Stotts for, missing open corner threes because I think Ken Bazemore had shot 3 corner threes in a row and missed them all. Well, why is our offense setting up when Ken Bazemore isn't hitting threes, why do we keep getting Ken Bazemore threes? Why don't we get a better shot inside the arc? That's what I'm talking about. We settle too much for threes when they're not falling, and Golden State wasn't really worried about Ken Bazemore hitting threes because Ken Bazemore's not a great three-point shooter. He's streaky. Okay, but he shot 32% from 3 last year. So if he's not hitting threes, we got to figure out something else, figure out how to get a bucket around the rim. And honestly, the only way we were getting a bucket around the rim was an occasional throw into the post, or it was Dame going 1-on-3. Dame was freaking fantastic tonight. Dame's playing like an MVP, and we still lost by 10. But the fact that CJ played over Simons tonight was ridiculous. That's the thing. Terry doesn't hold CJ accountable enough. On defense, if CJ has a horrible effort and gets burned, send a message and bench him. Take him out of the game. But we don't do that. So guys see CJ getting burned and it's almost contagious. If you don't hold CJ accountable for when he gets burned, how can you hold anybody else accountable when they get burned on defense? We gave up 125 points to a G League roster. We just gave up, 129 to Philadelphia? Our defense is awful, but it shouldn't be that bad. Hood isn't a bad defender. Bazemore is a good defender. Whiteside's a good defender. Skal Labissiere has been a good rim protector. Damian is about average. He's solid. He was playing with energy, took a charge tonight. It's just the scheme. We always run that super conservative scheme, and it gives the opposing team a lot of rope. So when it's a bad opposing team, they're able to get comfortable. They're not pressured. They're able to get to their spots because we let them get to that 15-foot pull-up. And then, we're playing almost scared defensively. We don't have that dog mentality. And I don't know, man. I feel like that's part, maybe it's not having Vanderpool because Vanderpool was our defensive coordinator. That loss of David Vanderpool might be showing itself right now. But, I mean, this starts with the head coach in terms of motivating his players to actually play some goddamn defense. Because right now, we're not playing any goddamn defense. Eric Brandt says, this team thinks we can just go out there and win because they're supposed to be good. I agree. And Eric, you're free to join the post-game show if you want. Let me know if you wanna vent on this or if you just wanna chill in the chat because I don't know, man. Our defense gets awful after Zach gets injured. Zach getting injured is no excuse for how bad our defense is. It hurts, but why does Stotts keep taking out Whiteside out in crunch time? I don't know. I mean, I get it. We were down, but he was shooting like 80% offensively. We didn't get him enough looks. The only looks Whiteside is getting is just out of pick and roll. And it's funny, he came from Miami and he was saying, oh yeah, the only time I was able to see the ball was through pick and roll and that was about it. Well, it's the same exact thing in Portland. There was a time we did try and post up Whiteside, and I think he airballed a hook shot from like 8-9 feet, but he didn't have good position to begin with. Have you noticed every time we post a player up, we literally just dribble down the side of the court and then try and throw it in, and it's obvious it's coming, and that player posting up struggles to get deep enough position to be able to make a good move? That's why we need a damn set that sets a cross screen for a big man. Okay, you have the ball on one side of the floor over here. Let's just say the basket's right here, all right? I'll make it the mic. The mic is the basket. I'll try and illustrate for you guys. All right, the sides of the screen are the sidelines. You have the ball over here. Say you have the ball right here, all right? Whiteside over here. You have somebody go across, set him a back screen, and then he flashes across the across the key, catches the ball with good position. Instead of just dribbling the ball down the sideline and Whiteside's getting pushed away from the rim by the guy trying to defend him, and he catches the ball out here instead. We need to set cross screens for Whiteside, man, to get him better position in the post, because if he's able to catch the ball consistently, like 5 feet or closer in, he was pretty much automatic tonight. But we don't have sets that set cross screens for bigs. Rodney Hood, we struggle to get him the ball in the post because like he's good in the post when he has good position, but he's also not the strongest guy, so he's able to get pushed out. So we need sets that is able to get Rodney the ball within 10 feet instead of just trying to dribble up the side of the floor and throw it into Rodney. There's just a lot of problems, man. There's just a lot of problems right now, and it's frustrating. Dame's carrying Stotts right now. Dame's playing like an MVP, and we're 3-4. Beephead2 says, "Hey, Tori, I love your honest criticism of Stotts. Appreciate it, man. I'll keep being vocal and telling you guys what is happening out there on the floor instead of being somebody like Chad Doing, who called me out today in the middle of his radio show. Said something earlier in the game like, oh, I can't wait for the clowns to talk tonight if we lose this game. I can't wait for the clowns to criticize Stotts. And then a couple hours later, he singled me out in a tweet out of random. So, you know what I mean? Like, so I guess he thinks I'm a clown. But, you know, what do you think he's discussing there on the fifth quarter? He's not explaining anything analytically like this. He's taking phone calls and asking, hey, guys, what happened? This team, they're just not playing hard enough, and CJ's not playing well. It's just surface level stuff. All right, here we go. We got Eric calling in. You guys probably heard that. So what's up, Eric? You're on.
Hey, what's up?
You know, what do you think he's discussing?
Gotta put those headphones in so I'm not echoing. I'll mute the audio capture until you're good. Alrighty, so Eric, man, I'm venting for the second game in a row.
Well, I'll say this: I'm not as mad as I was after last game because that was more just depressing than.
Yeah.
Mad.
Yeah.
If I would have told you before the year that Dame would be putting up the numbers he was putting up so far after 7 games, what do you think our record would be?
If what? Sorry, I was reading.
If I just posted Dame's stats to you through 7 games this season and said, what do you think our record is after 7 games with these stats?
Probably 5-2, because I would assume that we're not defending this horribly. We might be the worst defensive team in the NBA right now.
Yeah, it reminds me of 2 years ago when we were the worst. We were like historically bad defensively, and then we started to pick it up. But
our personnel is not that bad defensively.
No,
it's not that bad. We got Whiteside who's a great rim protector.
Yep.
All right, led the league in defensive rating last year. So when he was on the floor, his team gave up the least amount of points per possession, per 100 possessions. Skal has been protecting the rim well. Hood isn't a bad defender. I don't think Hood's been notoriously bad. Bazemore has his mishaps here and there, but he's a solid defender. Dame is solid. Like, Anthony has been improving. I feel like it's just more of the team defense. We're just constantly on different pages. We're not communicating well. There's times where 2 guys will pick up the ball, and then they'll both run away from the damn ball, and then the guy with the ball is like, all right, I'll take advantage of this score. We were not closing out all the way on Eric Paschal. He was catching the ball at the 3-point line, and we were closing out 5 feet short after he hit like 4 or 5 threes.
Yep.
We weren't closing out all the way, and it's just a lack of focus. It's a lack of defensive awareness. It's a lack of focus. It's a lack of being on the same page. It's that conservative scheme that Stotts only runs. You got to make Golden State uncomfortable. I was tweeting that out during the entire game. You have to make Golden State uncomfortable. They're G League players. You throw some pressure at them, throw some different looks at them, they're not going to be able to know how to handle it. But they kept dealing with the same conservative scheme with the big dropping back on the pick and roll every time, and they were able to get to their 15-foot pull-up. And then there was no ball pressure, so they were able to just kind of like read the defense, see what cutters were open. And that's another thing. They actually move players. They actually set screens for each other. Guys actually catch the ball going towards the rim. They catch the ball with an opportunity to score inside the paint instead of having everybody run in a circle around the 3-point line and having pin downs, just free guys to go to the 3-point line, that type of thing. So it's everything that I've talked about. Chad Doing got what he wanted, which was he tweeted out whatever about, kind of hoping that the Blazers lose tonight just so he can see the clowns overreacting after Game 7. But these are problems that I've seen for years that we've overcome because we have such a ridiculously talented backcourt.
It's just one game, right? That's what we keep saying.
It's just one game.
Yep.
I mean, when is it going to be just more than one game? It's never going to be just more than one game. Game 50, it's just one game. Game 60, it's just one game. Game 70, it's just one game. But we'll talk about the same problems for multiple years.
Yeah.
So people would just be like, look, they made the Western Conference Finals. But that's because Dame went nuclear in the first round, and CJ McCollum and Rodney Hood went nuclear in the second round. There was still a lot of isolation, basic pick and roll. Denver didn't shoot well in the second round. It wasn't because of Stotts. And people just credit Stotts way too much for that Western Conference Finals run. And now here we are with the same problems that we've dealt with Stotts, and it's losing us games to G League level rosters.
So in regards to Whiteside dropping on the pick and roll, we obviously know that in the previous 6 or 7 years, that's been Stott's philosophy, right? To drop the big in that situation and force the ball handler to shoot a mid-range shot versus getting the three. I saw a lot of people killing Whiteside for that. I don't know if that's necessarily his fault or not. Like, if he's doing what he's being coached to do, like, what is he supposed to do? Like, ignore the coach and like hedge the picks or like do something different? Like, I don't know. I really don't know. Do you think that's coaching or is that on Whiteside?
I don't know, man. I mean, like, that's the thing is if we do change up our scheme, our players might not be ready to run it because they're probably not working on it enough.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we're so used to the same scheme. That was the problem in the Western Conference Finals last year is when we switched up our scheme because obviously that the scheme we ran at game 1 was horrible. We were letting Steph and Clay get wide open threes. Like, it was probably the easiest coverage they've ever dealt with, and that was in the Western Conference Finals. That was embarrassing. Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals last year. But so then we changed it up, and it was the right decision in game 2, and we had a lead, and then the Warriors adjusted at halftime because they're a good coach team, and our defensive rotations on the backside of the trap of the pick and roll and of the different, we were running a different pick and roll coverage, a different type of defense to deal with screens, and the way you have to fill in behind that to protect against layups is a little bit different, and players weren't used to running that, so they weren't in the right spot defensively, and Golden State started picking that apart because we don't switch up our defense enough. What I noticed in game 1 against Denver is we were hedging the pick and roll a lot, but I don't know where it's gone. That's the thing. It's like the start of the season, Stotts will try new things, and they'll actually look pretty good, and then as the season wears on, he just goes away from them. Even if it looked good, even if it was a good decision, because now we're back to just literally playing conservative pick and roll defense. And what was funny is coming out of the halftime break, Dale Osborne, the assistant coach, said that they need to be more aggressive defensively, more physical defensively, impose their will. I didn't see that. Like, okay, so maybe the coaching staff talked about that, but change up the scheme defensively to facilitate that, you know, hedge the pick and roll, trap the pick and roll. That's how you get more aggressive defensively. You don't just tell the players, okay, we need to be more aggressive, we need to be more aggressive. There's different schemes that you can run to switch up looks to try something else defensively, and we don't do it.
Yeah, so if Whiteside was being caught in situations where it wasn't what I think Stotts wants him to do, that's one thing. Or if they're like trying new things, like a couple times towards the end of the game and like the end of the half, Hazonia will hard hedge some of those picks and go for an aggressive steal, and it works a lot because the defense has no idea it's coming. But he's the only one who's done that, and it's only been like situationally, like in games. So that tells me that they're not being coached to do that ever.
Yeah, and you know what's funny about that is Hazonia was reported as not picking up defensive and offensive schemes all that well. Yep. So I almost just feel like that's Hazonia just doing it like maybe – I mean, I'm sure he knows the pick and roll scheme, but I almost feel like that's Hazonia just feeling like, okay, maybe I should throw them a different look. Yeah. So he hedges, which if Mario is the guy who's guarding the screener, Mario should be hedging because he's big and athletic. He should be hedging or he should be trapping instead of sagging because just the type of defender he is, he's a better option hedging or trapping the pick and roll than sagging and trying to contest what would be an open mid-range shot. No, man.
But yeah, if we want the guard to shoot a 2 and the defender on the guard gets picked, then if Whiteside's sagging back, the guard should just let the ball handler go into the big and go get his guy at the 3-point line. So to me, they should be. It's not like a full-on switch, but if he's going downhill, you don't also go with him and sag the big at the same time. That's just going to leave the shooter wide open. And if Paschal's hitting shots, like, you don't want to just leave him open like that. It's just so frustrating. And then, so you always talk about switchability, right?
Yeah.
So it's actually like been a bad thing so far this year, because I feel like I counted at least 7 times this game where off the ball, 2 players went to one guy because they were just like trying to pass him off, but then one person didn't get the memo or they weren't communicating right. So they both went with one guy and it left someone else wide open. And then there was, 4 times that someone just flat out stood in quicksand while this guy drove baseline or cut baseline, and that found him for an easy basket.
Yeah.
It's just like details like that, man. You cannot win ball games in the NBA playing that sloppy, and it's driving me crazy. And the other thing about the defense is we still can't defend the 3-point line, and
it's just closeouts being short a lot of the time.
But like,
or a lot of time, the big guarding a guy coming off the screen is so far back that he can't help with the screen, and if it's a good screen set, then that player is coming off for a wide open 3.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
I
feel like are we not telling guys to stay home on shooters? Like, are we allowing them to freelance, and like guys like Bays just cheat off his guy and get burnt? Like,
I don't know, man. That's why I wish the media would ask more hard-hitting questions of Terry Stotts after games like this. Terry Stotts' post-game comments are not going to be insightful at all. It's not going to be insightful at all.
No.
So I'm going to try and keep up with chat a little bit.
Yeah.
Brian Skal Labissiere, maybe we stopped hedging and trapping because David Vanderpool left. We didn't really do it with David Vanderpool. Not switching up defensive coverages has been one of my biggest complaints for years. If you switch up defensive coverages in a game, it's going to throw different looks at the offense. They're not going to know what to expect when they turn the corner coming off of a pick and roll as the ball handler, so they're not going to be comfortable. And they're not going to know, the thing is, you run the same pick and roll defense every possession for a whole game. By that second half, those guys running the pick and roll are going to know exactly what reads to make because they've read the same exact defense over and over and over again during the first half. So guys get comfortable, guys know how to play against that, even if they're G League level players. You throw different looks at them, they're not going to get used to the defense. They're not going to know what reads to make. And you know, sometimes one scheme won't work, so you switch up the scheme and try a different scheme. But that's something that we don't do. It's been one of my biggest complaints for years, and it's still going to be a problem. It's something that's the thing. Once playoff comes around, we're so used to only running one scheme, we're not ready to switch to another scheme. And then what happens in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals last year is our normal scheme is not the right scheme to play against Golden State. So then we try and switch it up for Game 2, Game 3, but we're not used to running it, so we don't have the details down, so we still get beat. So we still blow leads. If we had been running different defenses all year last year, we would have been ready to switch up our defense. We might have been able to win a couple of those Western Conference Finals games. Who knows? We might have been able to make it to the NBA Finals. It's a difference maker. So, I mean, Eric, I know you feel the same way with me on that.
Yeah, it's so frustrating. I can't believe we're talking about a loss right now.
It's so ridiculous. I wanted a nice blowout win, but honestly, this team isn't good enough right now to blow out anybody.
So, with Dame and CJ, the problem is, I think the defense is a scheme issue, but with Dame and CJ, it's tough to, because you could just have everyone stay home or switch picks and stuff, but like they're not keeping their guys in front of them on the perimeter either. And people keep saying, "Oh, you guys wanted Aminu and Harkless gone. This is what happens." But our defense was not. We're like 16th or 17th in defensive rating last year. It's not like we had an elite defense or something. Like, so it's not like, I mean, and other than Nurk, like our defense was terrible before we got Nurk. We had Nurk, and then it was bad that first year with Nurk. We kind of struggled out of the gates like we're struggling now. But yeah, I just feel like we need like a defensive coordinator or something, and It's just frustrating that we're having the same defensive issues that we've had every year.
Yeah. Yeah. So moving on to our offense, though, where's the comment? There was a great comment. Toilet Clogger, he said this 4 minutes ago. There's a lot of people in chat right now, so I'm missing a ton. But he said, this flow offense now means, quote, I don't know, try something.
Yeah.
That is the definition of our offense right now. Our offense literally just turned into, Dame, please save us. Dame, please bail us out. Please don't let us choke this game. That's honestly how I think of Stotts with the way dude, it was all freelance. Like, what? Our sets, dude. Our sets suck.
So
it's so funny how other people can't realize that. And we just don't get guys cutting towards the rim. We don't put pressure on the defense by getting guys moving towards the rim as a threat, as a cutter to maybe catch a pass. And the thing is, people are saying, oh, we need good passing big men to be able to throw those passes or whatever. It's like, if a dude's open on a cut, it's not hard to make that pass. Just all our movement is around the arc. Like, God, man.
I'm getting really sick of not feeding the hot hand. Like last game, I forgot what Hood was in the first half, but he was 9 of 11 for the game. And he made 4 straight shots, and then he didn't get another shot the rest of the half. Like, it's like, why not just go to him until he misses? And same thing with Whiteside tonight. He was 6 for 6 in the first half. Like, feed him the ball until he misses at least. Just keep.
No, but CJ has to shoot 20 shots a game. That's what he's shooting so far this season. Rodney Hood is getting less than 10 shots a game, and he's shooting over 50% from the field and over 50% from 3. He's making the right decision when he drives. He's, averaging only like an assist per game, but he's not making the wrong decision when he drives. He's not taking bad shots. That's why he's shooting so efficiently. But CJ is shooting twice as many shots as him per game because CJ is just kind of allowed to go out there and do whatever he wants. Now, somebody did point out CJ had 6 assists tonight, and honestly, there was possessions where CJ made the right decision.
Right. Yeah.
There's passing options open everywhere when CJ drives because defenses know that this dude just constantly hunts his own shot. So tonight he made some of the right reads, but honestly, they weren't difficult reads to make either. For an elite offensive player, those were not difficult reads to make. So yeah, he had 6 assists, but he still forced some tough shots. He still missed open players. He still missed reads that he should be making. I hold CJ to a high standard because if this dude just made the right play offensively, made the right read, only took the right shots, he could be a guy getting 20 points per game and like 5-6 assists. And he could be efficient because teams would know he's a threat to pass, so they wouldn't send so many guys his way when he's putting the ball on the floor. But he just constantly hunts his own shot. Like, CJ was brutal tonight. In his defense too, that's the thing, man, is when he's shooting you out of a game, forcing so many shots, it's especially hard to take because he's not providing you anything defensively.
Yeah, I want to give him credit for the passing because especially in the second half, he came out, he had that wraparound pass to a wide open Whiteside for a dunk, and then the next play, he actually kicked it out to Tolliver, who was open, and he missed the 3, but that was the right play, unlike last game. But then, I think the next possession, he took it 1-on-3 and missed a shot or something, or took a bad 3 then. And
That's the thing with CJ. It's almost like his mindset is, okay, I'll pass until somebody misses an open shot, and then I'm going 1-on-3. You know what I mean? So he'll have games where he has 6 assists, but still doesn't play a great style of basketball. That's the thing. People will see 6 assists and just be like, okay, he played a good style of basketball. No, it's not. It's not that simple. There's context related to it. That's why you kind of got to watch the game is to, read the box score and be like, okay, he had 6 assists. Because if I just read the box score, I'd be like, okay, he had 6 assists. He might have played a good style of basketball tonight, or at least a better style than he plays because he only gets around 3 assists per game, which is bad considering how much he handles the ball. But there were so many open passes available to him, and he just forced so much crap, man. He's forcing so many in-between floaters, and, he has a good floater, but he has a good floater when he's open. Now he's shooting, it's like he's trying to squeeze floaters off in between 2 defenders.
Yep.
And it's gotten, he didn't used to really do it as much last year. He would force some tough shots, but he wasn't trying to shoot floaters in between 2 or 3 guys. And now it's just it's mind-boggling to me, dude. I just wanted it to improve this year. It keeps getting worse. And we assigned him to an extension. I'm more comfortable with Anthony Simons on the floor right now than CJ McCollum. I think right now with the way they're playing, Anthony Simons is a better player than CJ McCollum. He's not putting up the 20 points per game, but he's not shooting 20 shots per game. If you switch their roles, Anthony would be doing better than CJ in my opinion.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. And I mean, if we're going to lose games like this, you might as well play the young guy, right?
He should have played the whole fourth quarter. That's what I was saying. CJ was awful tonight. Anthony brings energy. In a game like tonight, the team had no energy. Anthony brings energy on both sides. He might not be a good defender, but he brings energy on that end, and that can be contagious. People see Anthony busting his butt, maybe picking up a guy full court, playing with defensive energy. That might give them a spark of energy, and it might be contagious for the rest of the defense. CJ, on the other hand, gives hardly any energy on the defensive end, and guys see that and guys notice that, and Anthony should have played the rest of the game tonight. That's the thing. Stotts is too scared, and we've talked about this before. That's what's funny is we foreshadowed this. Stotts is too scared to bench CJ when he should. Stotts is too scared to play Anthony Simons over CJ when he should, and it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out over the next couple years because with the way CJ is going and with the way his style of basketball is regressing, he'll still have really good stretches. He'll still have a month or two where he gets 25 points per game on great efficiency, and he'll help us win some games. But his style of basketball just seems to be slowly regressing. 2 years from now, it's going to be interesting because Anthony's looking really, really good for a 20-year-old kid, second year out of high school. Anthony.
Yeah,
it's going to be.
I love Simon's game. If he keeps on improving on defense, I mean, he's going to be a killer, and within a year or two. And you're going to have a tough decision to make. I was hoping those three could all coexist, but if he's not going to, it's like this with so Olshey's basically had to force Stott's hands, by getting rid of Ed Davis last year to play Collins, and then this year to get rid of Curry and stuff to play. He basically forced Collins into the starting lineup and Simons to be the only backup point guard. So, there might be a point where he has to force Stotts to.
But the thing is, CJ's Olshey's guy too.
Right.
You know what I mean? But Olshey loves Simons. Olshey loves Simons. Right. I think he might love Simons more than CJ. So that's going to be really interesting. The thing is, I feel like Simons is always going to be the type to hold himself accountable on both ends of the floor. If he gets beat, I can tell, okay, he's frustrated with himself. CJ, I don't feel the same way about. He shoots a bad shot, and it's just kind of oh, whatever. He gets beat on defense, it's kind of oh, whatever. That's the feeling I get from CJ. And maybe I'm wrong, you know what I mean? Maybe he's just a guy who doesn't show emotion, and it actually bothers him. Yeah. But I would think that if it bothered him that much, he would work hard to improve it, and it doesn't seem like he really has.
Real quick, so anyone mentioning trading CJ in the chat, just remember we can't trade him for almost 3 months from now anyway.
And it's not gonna happen this year.
It's not gonna happen. We wouldn't have signed him to an extension, so we're pretty much stuck with him.
We're stuck. We're stuck with our coach. Yep. We're stuck with CJ. The only way this group has a chance at winning a championship is to trade Whiteside for an all-star, borderline superstar level player like a Blake Griffin, a guy that can get 25, 10, and 5, and just have such an absurd amount of talent around or on this roster that we can win in spite of Sots, in spite of CJ's bad games. And you know what? Last year we were able to make the Western Conference Finals because CJ hit a hot streak at the right time. You know what I mean? If CJ doesn't hit a hot streak in that second round, we lose that second round series. We probably lose that second round series in 5 games. So he hit a hot streak at the right time. He's just not consistent enough for me to be okay, we have. I don't know. He's just not consistent enough offensively for me to feel like we have a consistent shot in the postseason. You know what I mean? Because we have to rely on him being hot in the postseason to have a chance, because he has too big of a part in the game for us to win in the postseason without him being hot.
Let's just say hypothetically we added Blake Griffin, right? And CJ became just a spot-up shooter. I think he would kill in that role. Because you couldn't leave him because he's too good of a shooter to do that. But the problem is when he's trying to, facilitate offense, and it just so many times he just goes where, players aren't even set. The big's not even down there to rebound. His misses on his floater are always long, and it leads to if the other team gets the rebound, they get out on the break fast. It's just, I feel like he could be a good player if he just played within the role of the offense and not try to be like Dame, or not try to make his CJ Law and Order crossover getting people to break ankles and stuff. I feel like he could really space the floor and make it like, because if we had another playmaker like Blake Griffin who was doing that, who liked to pass, I mean, he could kick out to CJ, and if they left CJ, then he's going to kill people hitting those open shots. It's just it's frustrating. But like Simons can do the same thing. So why do you really need CJ after a while?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, 100%. Ink Double D, the 76ers fan, he's back. And he said CJ just brushes it off too much, it seems like, to be honest. That's an outside opinion. And that's kind of the feeling I got. This guy, just from the outside looking in, sees it too. So, and that's kind of the feeling I've always gotten. I'm also paying attention to D-Dog 468 talking with Matt. D-Dog, you're correct in this situation. I haven't seen the whole like conversation, I feel like, but they, you know, Matt's talking about they missed open shots. Well, then design sets that get guys quality looks inside. That's not out of a simple post up where they walk it up the side of the court. This is the thing. Let me try and explain this. Is people say, oh, they just missed a lot of threes. That's not Stotts' fault. Well, when they're missing threes and their shot isn't there, the coaching staff needs to be able to design something that gets quality looks inside. The problem is when they're not missing shots, their offense is structured in a way where they're not able to get inside unless it's Dame or CJ breaking down the defense one-on-one or off a basic pick and roll. Those are really the only two times that we are able to get inside. Or there's three times. There's post-ups, there's pick and roll, and there's Dame and CJ in isolation. Those are really the only ways we get the ball into the paint in the half court. None of it is through like clever set design. None of it's through, you know, UCLA cuts being set for a guard who gets open on the cut. We're not back cutting right now. We're not really setting up back cuts in our sets at all. We're, you know, there's a bunch of different actions where we could get guys as cutters, as movers towards the rim, get some defensive attention off them with a screen or moving players in the right way, and we don't do it because our offense isn't structured like that, and that's one of my biggest complaints. And because our offense isn't structured like that, even when we're missing a lot of threes, we still have to, you know, hope that, okay, hopefully Kent Bazemore finally hits a three, and then he doesn't because he's not shooting well. And then guys say, oh, that's not Stotts' fault, guys just aren't hitting threes. No, it is Stotts' fault because we can't pivot to anything else when we're missing outside shots. We can't put pressure on the defense. So that's my response to that.
Do you want to acknowledge Dylan Block?
We have, Matt says we have no inside players, Tori. You can set a cross screen for Whiteside to get him the ball within 4 feet of the rim instead of 8 feet. You can set a back screen for the wing with Whiteside, and if the big is attached to Whiteside, that wing might be open. Or if the big sags, that wing might catch the ball, and then Whiteside is open, rolling to the hoop.
You could post hood.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like the center is always under the rim. If Whiteside's out at 15 feet, 20 feet, the center's usually close to him, so it's not like we have to deal with a situation where Hood's going up against a big man. The thing is, Golden State did a really good job of doing what I'm talking about, of getting guys good opportunities moving towards the rim in a set action, and they were playing with G League players, okay? If they can do that with G League level players, with guards, with Eric freaking Paschal, then we can do it with our roster. It's not us not having inside guys. It's just not good enough set design.
Well, and then people say, well, they're still learning to play together. Well, that was all guys who have never played together before like
exactly. I heard Stotts and Heard talking about that at the end of the game. Well, you know what? 7 new players, guys gotta get used to playing with each other. You're playing against a team full of G League level players or second round draft picks. They're starting 2 rookies who are just fresh into the NBA who absolutely killed us tonight. That excuse doesn't work against that game or against that lineup. Yeah. It doesn't work, man. It's just like that team had more turnover than us. That team has more turmoil than us. That team has less experience than us. That team should have a lot less chemistry than us. But yet here we are. Oh, this team just doesn't have chemistry yet. We just need to build chemistry. We got a lot of new players. Okay, what about the other team?
Yeah. Hey, real quick, shout out to Dylan Block if you want to read his little post.
Oh, yeah. My bad, Dylan. Shout out to Dylan, $5 donation. He said, I saw you I saw you post this. Chat was just moving too fast earlier. Chad Doing is just a blind fanboy and just shut his mouth when Jay Allen was hosting the show Saturday. It was easier listening to him. You know what, man? Yeah, and I don't have anything against Chad Doing personally. It's just like, don't try and call me out on Twitter. Don't call me a clown on Twitter and then single me out, man, because I got a platform too. You know what I mean? He's using his platform on Twitter and on his radio show to call out people who criticize Stotts because he doesn't like that. Well, I got a platform too, so it's foolish to call me out, and I'm educated. Like, I pay a lot of attention to what happens in games, what sets we run, a bunch of I pay attention to complicated basketball stuff. Like, I studied the game a lot so that I'm able to see this stuff while it happens. I've played college basketball, so I kind of know it from a bit of a player's perspective too. It's obviously a lot worse than the NBA, but I know my stuff. I'm educated and I have a platform, so I don't know why he's calling me out.
And for the record, Chad's a good
ridiculous.
guy. He's a nice guy. I just don't understand why he's coming at you.
I mean, he's just yanking my chain, and I heard them talk about that tweet before the game on the pregame show. It's just like, don't come at me, man, because that's the thing. If he tries to clown me, I'll just clown him back. If he tries to use his platform against me, then fine, I'll talk about it on my platform. Like, I don't understand why we can't just agree to disagree. I have to be a clown because I disagree with him. That's like his mindset. And then if I call it out, he'll say, "Oh, it's just Twitter, bro. Just chill." It's like, okay, you're telling me to chill. You're calling me a clown.
So, going back real quick to the like offensive thing and
wait. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Bad vs. Good says CJ hit one of the biggest shots for us in the playoffs this year. I didn't say that he can't hit big shots or he can't have good games, did I?
Yes.
He elaborates on that. He says CJ plays wonderful defense. I don't know what you're watching, bro. CJ does not play wonderful defense. He got burnt on many possessions tonight. His defense tonight was awful. What if Simons goes up against a guy with the size of Clay? Well, Simons is a little bit taller than CJ is, so it makes more sense to have Simons go up against a guy like Clay because Clay burns CJ anyways. Who do you want defending? Simons is taller than CJ McCollum, and Simons gives more effort on that end. And then he ended that with awful takes after saying CJ plays wonderful defense. All right, bud. Oh, I don't even gotta elaborate on that.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say. So
come on, homie.
Yeah, but like
I think he's a regular supporter too. You know what I mean? Like, we can disagree. That's fine. But you're wrong. You know.
I mean, I hope CJ is sitting there agreeing with us, saying I need to be better than what I'm doing, and not.
I mean, that's the
not
thing,
thinking,
man.
I play great defense. It's not my fault.
It's just like he's not a bad athlete.
Yeah.
And like that's the thing. If he has Clay posting him up and Clay hits shots over him because CJ's smaller, I'm not blaming CJ. That's just a lack of size. You know what I mean? That's just a tough matchup for him. I'm not blaming him on that. I'm holding him accountable. That's the thing. I want to see CJ be the best player he can be. I feel like I might want CJ to be the best player that he can be more than CJ is, because if I was him, I would have been busting my ass working on my defense. I would be more frustrated when I get beat. I would have watched tons of film on, me. I would have watched tons of film if I were him, trying to figure out how to make better decisions offensively, and he hasn't improved on that. I mean, maybe he is. Maybe it's just not working out for him, but I feel like he's too smart that if he was really, really working on this type of stuff, then he would be improving, or at least not regressing. And right now he's regressing.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing. And when he has great offensive game shooting the ball, he'll hit shots, but he's still like missing obvious passes and obvious reads, and his defense still isn't that good in games like that. So that's the area I want to see him improve, because like his shot will come. He just needs to shoot better shots and needs to work on other areas of his game.
And what was his excuse tonight not going against Klay Thompson?
Yeah, he was guarding Jordan Poole and Alec Burks. Alec Burks came in and was better than CJ. Alec Burks came in and got a couple of drives on CJ where CJ just basically played matador defense. Olay, let him go right to the rim. Yeah. That's Alec Burks, man. Alec Burks sucks. Alec Burks shouldn't be in the league. Alec Burks is horrible. CJ made him look good tonight. So I want to see CJ be better, man. It's rough.
And then this has to do with CJ, but going back to getting the bigs involved. So Whiteside, for the first points we got, he got fouled, made 1 or 2. Then he made his next 2 shots. I think one was on a hook shot, one was on an offensive rebound. And then, so the next possession after that, he's down there posting up. CJ hits like a contested 20-footer, but that's not the right basketball play in that situation, even if you make it. Like, give the big man the ball. And Hassan's the type of guy where if he makes a couple in a row, he's going to be aggressive and he thinks he can make every shot. And he obviously can get hot like that. He was 6 for 6 in the first half. And then the next play, Whiteside again had good positioning in the post, and CJ got the ball in the corner, and instead of just dumping it into him, he drove baseline and kicked it out. And then we ended up getting a bad shot in that possession. And it's just little stuff like that. Like, we have a big guy who can get his shot off. I mean, whether he's a good shooter or not, I mean, he shoots a good percentage from the field his whole career. So, like, I can't say that it's necessarily bad to give him post touches. Yeah, there was a couple rough ones in the second half, but he's still 10 of 14 shooting for the game. So, I mean, he's going to miss some shots every once in a while. No one's perfect. But, like, the right move is to just pound them inside when they don't have anyone that can guard him. And it was obvious from the beginning that Whiteside could have a huge game against these guys. And we just go away from it. And I don't understand. And then by the time we go back to him, it's too late, and then we just need Dame to make a bunch of shots. And that was pretty much the only reason why we stayed in the game as long as we did, which is really sad to say.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm going to try and keep up with chat. Like, let's kind of rapid fire on some of these comments, because chat's moving at light speed right now.
Yeah. And then
JP's, what were we saying?
Real quick later, we need to talk about Skal.
Oh, yeah. Skal had another solid game, I thought. But JP says, I feel like CJ's on-ball defense is better than Anthony's because he's stronger and crafty, but Anthony's off-ball and transition defense is better. I don't really agree with that. I'm going to watch back the full highlights and focus on CJ's defense. And I think you should do the same and let me know what you think. Just watch, full highlights include scoring plays, so that's going to show plays that CJ gets beat. So we can see, how many times he got beat off the dribble, because it was a lot, in my opinion.
I mean,
bad verse.
I don't think either of us are saying that Simons is right now necessarily a better defender. He needs to get out there and learn, and he has the potential to be a better defender than him.
And he's improving game by game. Yeah. Bad verse good says, "Where's this invisible man's face?" He's my podcast co-host, who's been on every podcast, every Uprise podcast. We had one earlier today. So if you want to see his face, watch one of our podcasts. I don't know. He's a constant contributor. So it's just, I have to set up the TV, which I watch the game on my TV. I have to set up the TV. It's a lot of setup to do. So that's why he doesn't have his face cam for post game shows. But he's always have face cam on the podcast. I thought, yeah. With better coaching, we could have won this game in the last one. 5-2 sounds a lot better than 3-4. Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's other problems outside the coaching. You know what I mean? I don't want it to make it seem like it's just the coaching. There's definitely some other problems, but it's a collective issue for sure. Let me see here. You can read off any comments that you want to respond to. I'm not going to be able to read all your guys' comments because we got 100 people in here. So, it's funny how we have more people in here after a loss than a win.
Macmol is saying, why does it take us till 10 to 11 seconds left in the shot clock to get into our offense every time? And
yes, bro.
But that's one thing that, once again, this offseason, they were talking about how they were going to speed it up and Dame was going to play faster. Yeah, they're going to get in their sets faster. And that lasted, half a game into preseason, and they're right back to...
It's almost like Stotts can't get focused on the... It's almost like Stotts can't stay focused on the things that he wants to improve. It's like he always falls back to how he's always coached.
Yep.
There's a lot of pointless motion to that's the thing is we have a set where we set 2 screens for Whiteside just for Whiteside to come up and set a pick and roll, and usually it doesn't affect the pick and roll that we eventually set. And that pick and roll finally gets set around 10 to 12 seconds, and by that time we've wasted half the shot clock. And if that pick and roll gets shut down, then we're battling the shot clock, likely not getting a good shot. that's like just an example. We have a lot of like motion in our sets that I feel like is wasted motion that doesn't accomplish anything, and a lot of it isn't towards the rim. That's the same thing I've been talking about for a while now. At some point, I'll probably do like a set breakdown just to show you guys like actual in-game footage, even if it takes a while. I think it's something that I need to do to kind of show you guys. I mean, a lot of you guys probably know what I'm talking about, but it would be helpful to illustrate some of the things I'm seeing in terms of film.
There was a play where man, I wish we could just break down plays like throughout the game. That'd be awesome. Maybe.
Oh, I know.
Maybe we could record a game and have a watch party, and we could rewind and show plays back and stuff.
I feel like that'd be too. Yeah, I feel like that'd be too overboard because we could pick apart every possession.
But there was one where it just really stood out to me because I think it was CJ was dribbling the ball up the court, and Hood actually was in between his guy and the corner, and if he just dove to the basket, he would have been wide open for like a lay-in, but instead he like ran around his guy and went and stood in the corner and just waited for CJ to do his thing or whatever. And it's
used to being out on the perimeter, and that was probably the set structure. And guys just run around the perimeter. Just watch our wings. For everybody out there, just watch the way our wings run on plays. A lot of it's just around the arc. There's some possessions where it's almost like the inside of the arc is lava for our wings. It's strange. All right, looking at comments. Eric's the voice of God, says Toilet Clogger. It's the ghost of Eric. Eric's the voice of God.
Hello, my children.
There's like vocal like effects you can do. Once I get a faster computer, I'll like download that software, and you can do like vocal effects. You could actually sound like God if you wanted to with that. Yeah.
So
Anthony
Matt Navarez is talking about the schemes and how guys just missed open shots. You can't fix that with a cut or a side screen.
I mean, you can stop shooting so many jumpers and get something inside. Maybe the offensive structure should be more geared towards a healthy balance of jump shots and getting looks inside instead of being so jump shot heavy. And maybe we should when we're not hitting jump shots, pivot to something else. That's the thing. We're not able to adjust. We're not able to adjust at all. See, Bad vs. Good says CJ's fine. This was CJ's shortest off season. That's what type of excuse is that? Okay, so he lost like 2 weeks off his off season, 3 weeks off his off season. That's a horrible excuse for CJ not improving because he didn't improve last year either, and he got swept in the first round. So that's the thing. That's just an excuse to me that isn't applicable. And then he says, with Nurk hurt, CJ's being forced to do more on both sides of the ball. No, he's not. CJ isn't being forced to do more on both sides of the ball. CJ should have always been. He still has a rim protector behind him. He still has Hassan Whiteside. His job's still the same, which is to play perimeter defense against whoever he's guarding and not fall asleep and not be lazy on that end. It's still the same job. He's not being forced to do more offensively. If anything, he has Rodney Hood next to him. He's shooting over 50% from three and over 50% from the field, and Rodney Hood's only getting like 9.5 shots per game while CJ's shooting 20. Maybe CJ should defer to Rodney Hood more. He's not being forced to do more offensively. And if he's being forced to do more offensively, then why is his passing even worse this year?
Yeah,
it's just a bunch of excuses.
That's the disturbing thing is his passing or his assist rate has gone down each of the last 4 years. That's not us making some agenda up. Like he's just getting worse at passing every year. And I talked about this several times. I don't mind CJ as a last resort in the offense going one-on-one or ISOing. He's pretty good at that. What I have a problem with is when he does that from the beginning of the offense and no one else touches the ball and he takes that contested 20-footer, like I said, whether that goes in or not, when someone's just scored 5 straight points or whatever, like give him the ball again. Like you don't have to take that shot all the time. So he's forcing himself to be more of a he's putting more pressure on himself, I should say, if that's the case. And he doesn't need to do that. They have scorers on this team. Hood's, you mentioned this earlier, he's had great efficiency this year. and he's not getting enough shots, and other people should be getting shots if he's not hitting. But it's
all his shots seem to come off of them just not running a set and trying to throw it into him on the post, or it comes off of him spotting up on the three-point arc, shooting a three, or him spotting up on the three-point arc and guys running him off three-point line and him creating something one-on-one. They're not getting him looks out of a structured set at all. And that's the thing with Terry's offense. It's not like getting Hood looks. I'd be running curls for Hood. We set pin downs for Hood, but it's always to run him to the three-point arc, and it's not a great angle for a pin down. We should be running him off curls to the 15-foot free throw line because he's really good at that jumper. It also might allow him to get a lane and go downhill to the rim since he's already moving towards the rim if we curl him to the inside of three-point arc instead of out to the three-point arc. I don't know. There's just a lot of different things. There's a lot of different things we can improve. There was a comment I wanted to respond to. What was I saying? Some Bad vs. Good says CJ was playing hurt in the playoffs. Almost everybody's banged up in the playoffs because it's like the 7th month of the season. I don't even remember what CJ was hurt with.
And you've mentioned this before.
Oh, CJ came back. I think you might be talking about CJ's knee injury. No, CJ was fine in the playoffs. CJ was more rested than most people.
You've mentioned this too. When the offenses go more towards a half-court style in the playoffs, CJ, you do need a guy like that who can create his own shot. If he gets hot in games, that can win us games.
Exactly.
But he's got to learn to trust his teammates more during the regular season, I think. I don't know.
That's the thing. If he played a good style of basketball, he'd have games where his shot wasn't falling, and he'd still be a productive member of the team if he just knew when to make the right passes. Because even if his shot's not falling, he's able to draw multiple defenders pretty much whenever he wants to. A lot of times he just forces shots out of that when he's not hot instead of making the right pass. And a lot of times he stops the ball so much that our offense completely bogs down watching CJ go one-on-one, and it results in a bad offensive possession. So just style basketball, CJ has a lot of improvement to make, and it's rough, man. I mean, we had the same conversations at the start of last season. CJ was rough too. Matt Narvaez says, with what personnel outside of Dame, Hassan, Bays, and Hood are skinny, CJ is small, Mario might be the third biggest threat to attack the rim, LMAO. You realize you can attack the rim other than going off the dribble, right? You realize that you can free guys up to give them space with them moving towards the rim with a good screen or with a good set design, right? It's not a product of, Hood and Bazemore are so skinny that you can't free them up as cutters going towards the rim. Like, that makes no sense. Like, I don't know how to illustrate this to you. The Warriors were doing it all night with multiple players like Damian freaking Lee and Jordan Poole. Those guys are skinny and small too. Teams do this with... Teams are able to get... I don't know.
Kai Bowman? Is he a big guy? Like,
exactly, man. Like, other teams are able to do it with the same personnel. And that's the thing. Fans just want to give excuses for Stotts not getting things done. It's just, we don't have the personnel to have guys cut into the rim. We don't have the personnel to run a UCLA cut where a guy might be open on a cut to the rim. We don't have the personnel to set a cross screen for a big. We don't have the personnel to back screen the wing and maybe he's open, on the back screen going towards the rim. That's the thing. It's like, those guys aren't big enough to be able to create on their own. Well, have a set that gets them good looks inside. It's like, I don't know how else to picture it. Bad vs. Good says, type F in the chat if you like CJ, silent majority. I like CJ when he's hitting shots. I'm not saying that he has to go. I'm saying that he has to improve his style of basketball.
Well, he's not going to go, so...
I wish I was the CN. I have no idea what that means. AM Production 16 says, I wish I could be the Blazers GM, and David Stitzel says, I wish you could too. I don't think this is a bad roster. I was hating, I shouldn't say hating. I was critical of Stotts up until this past offseason. I was critical of Olshey up until this past offseason. I thought Olshey had a good offseason. I'm not criticizing Olshey. I think this is a good roster. I think Stotts is doing a bad job with it.
Yeah, the only thing I can criticize him right now is where's Moses Brown? I know he's not going to help us, but like we just need another big as insurance. We
need rebounding help, man, because Skal's struggling a little bit on the boards. A lot of that is he doesn't have much help. You know who would be great rebounding help?
Fareed.
Exactly. Would be great on the boards with our bench unit. You know what would be great when our team doesn't have energy like tonight? Kenneth Fareed. That dude brings injury. That guy brings energy, brings rebounding, and we need help at the big man position right now.
So Drew Bidu is asking, do we forget all about this if we beat the Clippers, or is this a long-term problem? Smells like
this is the same thing we've been talking about for 2 years. I mean, and the thing is, like, we'll keep analyzing the team. The team could play great. That's the thing. If we beat the Clippers, it's because we improved on these things. We're not gonna play like this and beat the Clippers. We'll have no chance. Even if they don't play Kawhi, we'll have no chance. So if we beat the Clippers, we're going to do these things better because we have to in order to beat them. So in that post-game live stream, I'll be talking about how we improved on these things.
Yeah, I mentioned this in the chat before I got on, but like, it feels like they have like a mental problem right now, and like they just expected to come into this game and win, and weren't even really that concerned with it. And then at the end, oh crap, we're down 6 with like 8 minutes left or whatever. Like, and then they start gripping and missing shots, and like I just wish they would have the mentality like they're going to take care of business like they have in previous years, because like we can't. Once again, we can't give up these kind of games and expect to have a good seed in the playoffs.
Yep. Mr. Ounce 3 says complaining about the personnel is the weakest excuse, especially when to the Warriors rookie squad.
Yep.
Yeah. No complaining about the personnel or not having proper personnel when the Warriors. So that's the thing. The Warriors played a style of basketball that I wish we played. The way they played tonight was a good style of basketball. Steve Kerr is a genius coach. Everybody's talking about, we're going to see how Steve Kerr does now. Did you see the way those guys were playing together tonight? Did you see, like, their offensive style of basketball and the way they were playing defense is exactly what I want out of a head coach, man. That's exactly what I want. That's why they were able to beat us with a bunch of nobodies, with horrible personnel. So for all the people saying personnel is the reason why we can't do these things, Golden State Warriors, look at what they did tonight.
Man, they were pesky. They're getting in people. They were talking smack like Poole shouldn't be talking smack, but they were feeling it, man.
Yep. Matt Narvaez says they can't coach that mentality like you're talking about other podcast guy. Other podcast guy is Eric.
Hello.
I mean, players reflect the mentality of their coaches to a certain degree. Obviously, like, players have different mentalities, so you're not in full control of that. But
let me respond to Matt. So
yeah,
I don't know if you felt this, Matt, but in the playoffs last year when they beat Denver, it was obvious to me they felt like they finally arrived, and they went into that Golden State series thinking we made it. Like, like they weren't even mad that they lost that series, really. I didn't feel like they had much passion. They were still like, well, we made it to the Western Conference Finals. What more can you say?
Yeah.
And they celebrated like they won the championship after that Game 7. It was an awesome moment. I was so happy, and it was great and all that. But like ever since that game, they've kind of had this mentality like, oh, they're good now. They don't have to work as hard. And it's frustrating because Dame isn't like that, but he can't carry a whole roster and coaching staff.
Yep. He followed that up with saying the Blazers had no urgency. How are you going to ask Stotts to coach that? Dame and CJ thought they could cakewalk this game. Dame played his ass off, so I don't know what you're talking about with Dame. The dude had 40 points when he was basically going 1-on-3. CJ, if he's playing like that, you bench him. You got a guy like Simons who's hungry to earn minutes just like the Golden State Warriors were, and you play Simons the whole fourth quarter because Simons was playing with energy. Simons was playing a better brand of basketball offensively. He would have been better to have in the game offensively and defensively. Then you play Simons the whole fourth quarter instead of putting back in CJ who's cakewalked the whole game. And if CJ keeps doing that, you keep benching him for Simons. Simons is going to improve faster because he's getting more minutes and he's getting quality minutes. And right now, Simons is just as productive as CJ, so I don't think it's going to hurt our chances to win. So you play Simons over CJ in games where CJ's cakewalking and making bad decisions, and either CJ will get the message or CJ is going to go off and pout, and maybe then but that's the thing. You don't want a guy who, if he's held accountable, goes off and pouts and goes off and causes problems. So either CJ will get the message and he'll improve, or he'll show you who he really is if he's held accountable, and that's somebody that shouldn't be on the team if if it causes issues if he's held accountable. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but that's the problem is Stotts is a player's coach. He enables CJ to be like that. He's not going to punish him. He's hitched his wagon to Dame and CJ, and he's not going to do anything to warrant them turning on him.
Yeah. I mean, and the fact that Simons doesn't get at least 20 minutes a game, like Drew Bidoo said, he needs 20 a game at least. Yeah, he does. Right. Simons looks good, man.
We can't postpone this any longer. I need to talk about Skal, man.
All right, here you go. Yep.
Skal played a great game tonight, and for the second straight game, I'm left wondering what would have happened if he was not subbed out. Let's see. He was subbed out at. Let me just check my notes here.
While you check that, I wanna add something about Skal. He came into the game in the second half. First possession, I think he made a good defensive play or something. But then he was like clapping his hands, looking at his teammates, like trying to rile them up defensively. I love that. That's what we need.
Yeah,
we need a guy like that out there providing energy, trying to uplift guys' energy in a game where we had literally no energy.
Yep.
And he barely played the second half.
Yeah, so
I know he got hurt, but he still seemed fine. Bring him back in the game because I think he got hit on the face. They brought Whiteside back in, but play him next to Whiteside.
Yeah,
we're struggling on the boards. We're struggling to guard the interior. Skal has played power forward in his career. He can shoot mid-range jumpers. I still think he could knock down threes if he shot more of them. Play Skal and Whiteside together instead of freaking Tolliver or Hazonia.
So he went out at 7:38 left, and we had just taken a 97-96 lead at the time. So we got outscored 31-21 after that. So one thing.
Can I before we get to Skal, I'll let you collect your thoughts.
Right.
I just want to address this because it's from Ink Double D, who's the Sixers fan. Very, very good commenter. So show him some respect. He was in the post-game live stream after the Sixers, and he was very respectful, very, very good, polite commenter. And it's nice to get outside opinions on our team because we're so close to a situation that sometimes it's nice to just see how somebody outside the team sees it. And he says, from the outside, it seems like they rely on Dame too much and look for him to carry. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't watch the Blazers, but from the Sixers game, that's how it seemed. Yeah, that's basically how it is, man. And if you get a chance, I'd love for you to watch a couple of games that maybe don't involve the Sixers and come with your thoughts and maybe compare the Sixers to the Blazers because I'm curious how we look like to an outsider because I agree our offense at times just give the ball to Dame and hope he bails us out. That's the plan. That was the plan against the 76ers. And the thing is, dude's playing like an absolute MVP. Like, dude's playing insane out of his mind, and we're 3-4, and the dude's, I think, averaging like 33 a game and shooting over 40% from three and 50% from the field. That's how bad the rest of the roster's playing. So anyway, pivoting on to Skal, I'll let you talk about your man.
Speaking of Dame, he seems to light it up whenever Skal's in the game setting the picks for him. And why is that?
Skal sets good screens.
Yes.
Yeah, Skal sets good screens. Let me shout out this donation first. Sorry.
I
keep postponing you, but shout out Russell, first round exit Westbrook for the $2 donation. We need to free the Haitian brother Skal. # free Skal. # free Skal. Get it trending on Twitter next Blazer game because that's my hashtag, man. # free Skal.
Yep.
It's this dude. If he was playing, I think he could be a really good player if he got like a starting role and playing like 30 some minutes a game. I think he could be a guy that got like 15 and 7 with good defense. And if he shot more threes, I think he has the jump shot to be able to be like a 35-36% 3-point shooter. Honestly, he might not be that much worse than Zach Collins. That might be our Zach Collins replacement. You know what I mean? Collins got hurt. But we weren't really, we didn't know what to expect from Skal. Skal looks great. we might not be any worse off because Skal went to Zach's role.
And Skal, just the improvement from the first game in his screens to this game, it's like night and day. And if he gets that much better just with a little bit of playing time, imagine like towards the end of the season. And he's also a willing passer too, so he's always looking to kick out to shooters and stuff. Maybe a little too much, actually. But yeah, he's doing a great job of the timing of his screen. So that's one thing that made Nurk so effective on the picks is it's not necessarily the first pick that works. It's like you go to set a pick and it's obviously not going to work, so you like back up and then you go set a pick on the other side real quick when the guy's not expecting you to be there still. He thought you vacated the area. And Skal's already learning how to do that in just a few games. And like just his awareness on what side to set the pick on, like when to set it, when to slip. Like I was watching every time and he seemed to make the right decision every time. And And when the guy guarding Skal is not hedging the pick or doubling Dame has come around the pick and has been wide open for a three several times. And then if the guy does double, he's slipping that right away and getting the ball, and he's either going to the basket or kicking it out. I just love the way he's playing right now, and it's frustrating that he's not. Like, I just think we would have won these last two games if he would have played a little more in the fourth quarter because he was controlling offense, and that's one of the more frustrating parts is like you say like people are saying we don't have big men and stuff. Like Skal is playing great. Like, how many minutes did he play tonight? Do you know?
I can check a box score. Probably not enough. And the thing is, people are like, oh, he got subbed out because he got hit in the face. Stotts was about to sub him out anyway. He wasn't going to finish the game with Skal.
And he could have came back in. It's not like that would have kept him out.
Exactly.
15 minutes. You got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. Tolliver played 17 minutes.
Oh, dude. I mean,
he was 2 for 8 shooting. A lot of those were like tips, and he wasn't getting the play.
The thing is, he's before this game he was shooting 67% from the field and still only playing 13 minutes per game. So he's bound to have a night where he goes 2 for 8 because he's literally been finishing 2 out of every 3 shots, which is insane efficiency. Like, that's elite efficiency even for a big man. And he had a lot of shots that were really, really close that rolled out. So he didn't play a bad game. Defensively, he was good. I need to expand these stats here. He had 2 blocks, protect the rim well. Like, and that's the thing. You're talking about him making the right decisions, setting good screens on pick and rolls, and then making the right decisions when to slip, and then playing well once he receives the ball off the pick and roll. With how much our offense relies on pick and roll, we need a guy who's able to do that.
Yep.
Skal's only playing 15 minutes. It's absolutely ridiculous. That's I don't know. Like, that's the thing. I see Terry Stotts defenders talking about how good Skal's playing. It's like, okay, why isn't he playing more then? Why isn't your boy Terry Stotts playing that man more? Why is he only playing 15 minutes?
And then, so between Skal, Simons, and Hazonia, those are the only 3 that had a positive plus minus tonight. And I don't really necessarily like the positive plus minus tonight, but in a game like tonight, that fits the eye test. Those guys are playing pretty well, and they should have gotten more of an opportunity. Simons only played 19 minutes.
Yeah, that's the thing. You have to provide proper context with plus versus minus. Right. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just go only based off plus versus minus. But Simons and Labissiere were outside of Lillard, probably our second and third best player on the court. Outside of Lillard and Whiteside, because Whiteside played good. He had 22 and 11. Whiteside has actually like solid. Did get lost a little bit defensively, but Dame, Whiteside, Labissiere, and Simons were our best 4 players. I thought that those 4 should have finished the game for sure, and then 5th guy could have been maybe Hazonia. Hazonia was solid tonight. Maybe run those 5 out there. You don't have a lot of shooting, but those are the 5 that are playing the best basketball. Sometimes you gotta change your rotation just based on who has it for the night and who doesn't. And Stotts doesn't do that enough.
Yeah, Bazemore 3 of 10, 1 of 6 from 3.
Bazemore was brutal, and he's an 80 or he's a 32% 3-point shooter last year. I'm not sure he's a better 3-point shooter than that. So why is our offense predicated on him getting wide open threes? And I forgot to say this I forgot to say this earlier. People were like, well, you kind of have to take those shots. Bazemore from the corner for a wide open three. Bazemore can cut baseline. He's wide open because this guy's going to help. So when his guy goes to help, Bazemore should cut baseline. Bazemore has decent athleticism, has almost a 7-foot wingspan. Him cutting to the rim, he could get layups by doing that instead of spotting up from three. That's the thing. That was my complaint with Harkless and Aminu for a long time. They started to figure it out last year where, okay, maybe instead of spotting up from the corner for a three-point shot, which I'm not super efficient at, maybe I should cut baseline when my guy stops paying attention to me because he's going to help on Dame, and then Dame can deliver that pocket pass to the guy cutting from the corner down the baseline, and that guy can get an easy lay-in instead of spotting up from three. That's the thing, man. There's so many opportunities for us to get better shots if guys would cut, and some of that's on the players, but some of that's on Stotts. Stotts needs to be saying, Kent, your shot's not falling. You missed your last three from the corner. We'll cut next time.
Layman was excellent at cutting last year.
Exactly, man, and that's why I didn't. The thing is, everybody seemed to move better when Layman was in the game.
How many better, like, how much does that open the offense when you're getting open dunks and lay-ins off like a lob pass or a backdoor cut? Like that frees up, then the defense has to sag down and can't play as tight on the shooters. And it's frustrating. Gosh.
I mean, we're probably going to be 3-5 after this Clippers game. We come back home. I mean, we knew the start of the season was going to be tough, but we lost 2 games we should have won. And that's the thing people were talking about. Oh, maybe blowing that to the 76ers will spark them for the rest of the season. It obviously didn't, because this is going to be the worst loss of our season. Guaranteed. Like, I don't see how we can have a worse loss than this. Like, losing to the Charlotte Hornets would be, I don't know if that would be worse than this.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I mean, the Charlotte Hornets have actual, like, NBA players. I mean, Pascal's good, man. Pascal's legit. There's buzz about Draymond possibly being traded around the trade deadline. They got their Draymond replacement. That dude was good. I liked him coming out of the draft, and then when he went to Golden State, he's kind of built like Draymond, kind of plays with like the energy like Draymond, isn't as demonstrative, but maybe, once he's known like Draymond, because Draymond wasn't that demonstrative when he got in the league, and then he became Draymond that we all know. But Pascal, man, like, he doesn't have the playmaking, but like in terms of the way he's built defensively, that dude was a great defender in college, and he's shooting like this. That dude is their next Draymond. If this dude keeps playing like this, there's a lot better chance they trade Draymond, move off that contract, move off his problems, and say, okay, Pascal, you're our power forward now, because Pascal's good, dude. We didn't do a good job defending him really, but like he was hitting shots from inside, he was getting to the rim, he was hitting threes. He's athletic for how thick he is. He's a little mini Zion in a way, because he has solid athleticism for how big he looks. Like, it was surprising me how much he was getting off the ground. I know that was in the scouting report, but like dude's athletic for how like built he is.
Yeah, I like him a lot, especially once again a 2nd round pick going to Golden State. Yeah, he's not as good of a defender as versatile as Draymond. I mean, he's a solid defender, but like he just doesn't have quite the awareness Draymond has.
Yeah,
and he, like you said, he doesn't have the playmaking ability that Draymond has, but he is a better shooter, I think, better scorer.
Yeah. Austin Wax says, let's look at the pieces the Mavs had when they won that championship and the offense he was in charge of. I just don't get what is happening to the Blazers right now. They just ran their offense through Dirk. Their offense wasn't that imaginative. They just ran their offense through Dirk, and they had guys that like ran the floor a bit. But I don't know. That's the thing. Terry Stotts' offense looks good when you have an elite player balling out and other guys are hitting shots around him. The thing is, the Mavericks had guys that could hit shots around Dirk, so he just ran stuff through Dirk. If they doubled Dirk, and then Dirk would kick it out to guys that could shoot the ball.
They also got out and ran a lot with Kidd and Jason Terry and players like that.
Exactly. Yeah. So it wasn't really Stotts doing all. It wasn't that imaginative. It wasn't much different than we do now. We just ran it through Dame instead of Dirk. When we had Aldridge, we ran it through Aldridge the same way they ran it through Dirk, and our offense wasn't that creative when we ran it through Aldridge. We we just posted up Aldridge consistently. We just brought the ball down the court and posted him up. Like, that was about it. Thing is, we used to run a cross screen set for Aldridge all the time, and now we don't run it for any of our bigs. I don't know why that's disappeared. But yeah, man, it's just very, very, very rough. Insidious Swede said, Insidious Swede is I think he's Jade Falcon from the forum.
Okay.
He can correct me if that's not him. But he said Jake shooting 40% from 3, averaging 9.6 points per game. Wouldn't that be nice to have right now? I was criticizing them for that move, and I took some heat from my own community for that. Hezonja's better. And the thing is, Hezonja hasn't looked all that bad. But Jake just needed a consistent opportunity. He has the potential to be a 40% 3-point shooter. His stroke is very, very nice. He just needed like consistent opportunity and confidence. And I was told that the coaching staff didn't have much confidence in Jake. They were going to let him go regardless because Stotts wasn't a big fan of them. That's another knock on Stotts. How are you not a fan of Jake Layman? The dude plays with energy, moves well off the ball, hits threes, and athletic, can rebound. Like, how are you not a fan of Jake Layman? I don't. Bro, I'm facepalming right now, man. It's. Oh, man.
So Drew says Jake wanted out, though, but that's because
probably because the coaching staff didn't have much confidence in him, and he knew that.
And he was getting the Vonleh treatment last year, where he'd start off a game hot and get subbed out and like not play again the rest of the half.
Yep.
I know he went.
Now
through
Skal's getting
getting.
Now Skal's getting Vonleh treatment
without starting.
It was like Stauskas playing over Layman last year, playing more minutes than Layman when Layman would play well. Now it's Tolliver playing more minutes than Labissiere. Man.
Yeah, so I don't know if you saw the quick report today, but he basically said that they're not going to add a person to the 15th roster spot.
Yeah. I just got to respond to this. I'm so tired of people saying, oh, players said this about their coach. Matt Narvaez says, bro, the Stotts hate is real, LMAO. Jason Terry called Stotts an offensive genius. That's just what people say when they can't discuss the actual things that are happening on the basketball court at a deep level. Like, discuss the basketball we're seeing right now instead of saying, oh, 8 years ago, this guy said he was a genius coach. Because Giannis Antetokounmpo went to bat for Jason Kidd, who's a horrible head coach, who's a horrible coach of the Bucks. Giannis really wanted him to stay. Giannis thought he was a really good coach. And then Jason Kidd left. They brought in Mike Budenholzer. Immediately a much better team. Immediately a much more well-coached team. So I'm tired of hearing people say, oh, well, Lillard and CJ think Stotts is great. Jason Terry thought he was an offensive genius. Like, players are going to support their coach. You win a championship with a coach, you're going to say good things about him. Okay? Like, those guys know what they know their stuff. They're NBA players, but also a lot of them are too close to the situation to be truly objective, in my opinion.
Yeah, and there's a lot of loyalty. I don't have a problem with players being loyal. I don't blame CJ and Dame for liking Stotts. I mean, why wouldn't they like Stotts? You know, like he doesn't do. Yeah. It's not like he would ever bench them or do anything. So they get to do what they want, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just I wouldn't take anything they say about Stotts as gospel.
Yeah.
So, Matt say, or where is it?
I mean, Matt's still on this. He can't scheme for guys missing open shots. I mean, we've explained how he can throw wrinkles into his offense to not have to rely on Kent Bazemore hitting threes.
And then he says Jake was ice cold in the playoffs, literally unplayable. Did he even play meaningful minutes other than
he literally played 4 meaningful minutes in the playoffs? So that's a non-fact. That's fake news.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at his game log from the playoffs.
Yeah, and don't count garbage time, like legit minutes. Because if he was ice cold in 4 minutes at garbage time, dude's in garbage time when he hasn't played for a month. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't getting consistent minutes.
Yeah, so he played 6 games in the playoffs last year out of, how many did we play? 7, 12, 16 games. So he played in 6 out of 16 games for a total of 20 minutes.
20 minutes total.
In 6, yeah.
How much of those were in a blowout in garbage time, you think? if you have a game log there, because I'm pretty sure like he only played like 4 or 5 meaningful minutes in a game.
Yeah, I know he came in when I forgot if that was game 2.
Because we were down in game 5, we were down like 30 at the start of the fourth quarter.
There was a game 2 against Denver when I think Harkless got hurt, and then he came in. I think he might have started the second half. He played a few minutes and then got subbed out. This isn't going to tell me, though, if it was garbage time or not. Fortunately.
Why would they give Jake run if he's missing open shots and teams scout his cuts? Dude. He wasn't missing open shots in the playoffs. He didn't get an opportunity, and a lot of cuts are out of freelance. But the thing is, if you set a back screen for a wing and he's covered, usually that can open up a different type of action. That's why you have different actions sequenced together. So if the first action is taken away, the process of the defense taking away the first action actually plays well into the offense running the second action and getting somebody open. So it might be a guy cross screening for Whiteside. If they pay too much attention to Whiteside, then the guy who cross screened gets a pin down screen where he goes up to the free throw line and can maybe catch the ball there and get a floater, get a good shot 15 feet or in. Well, I don't know how else to explain it.
So let me ask you this, Matt. So if you put Jake Layman in the game, right? Or you put, let's say, Bazemore in the game right now. So what does the defense focus on when Bazemore is in the game? Are they focused on Bazemore in the corner, or are they focused on stopping Dame because they are not worried about Bazemore shooting that corner three, and if he makes that, kind of like Aminu, that'll kill us? So you're saying that teams were taking away Jake's backdoor lobs and stuff. That means a team actually had to game plan against Jake being on the floor. And that means that they're focused on another player other than Dame at the same time. There was a game against the Pelicans last year, the game where he had like 20 points in a quarter or whatever. Mm-hmm. They put Drew Holiday on, they switched him off of Dame onto Jake Layman. And that is so valuable. Like, I can't understate the value of that, how that takes pressure off of Dame. So if him just being on the floor means they're focused on him not getting lobs and backdoor cuts, like I said, that opens up spacing for the other 4 players. And so I don't care if he's not getting those lobs. The fact that he was such a threat that they had to game plan for it is huge.
That's a mic drop right there. 100%.
And so
that's a mic drop. The voice of God is spoken.
And then real quick, just because the shooting thing is bugging me, right? So
yeah,
he played 3 games for one game in the OKC series. One game he played 19 seconds. The other game he played 38 seconds and was 1 for 1. And the other game he played 5 minutes and 39 seconds and was 0 for 1. So in the whole series, he was 1 for 2 in that series, right? The Denver series, he played 5 minutes and 55 seconds in game 2 and 5 minutes and 11 seconds in game 5 and was 0 for 3. So yeah, I didn't shoot well, but it's 3 shots. Like what? And then he only played the last 2:30 of the blowout in game 1 where we didn't want to guard Steph Curry and we got housed in that game. So he played garbage time for 2.5 minutes and went 0 for 2 when the game was out of hand. So really, I mean, if you take away that 0 for 2, he was 1 for 6 or 1 for 5. So I mean, it's not good, but it's not like he was unplayable because he was shooting so bad. Like that's nothing. Frustrating.
No offense to Matt. It almost just seems like you're trying to find ways to disagree with us or find ways to counter us, and it's not really working. Matt just said, "Give me his stats the last stretch of the season." He had a slump, but his minutes were getting yanked around. That's the thing that people don't understand is that when you have an inconsistent role, it's hard to build a rhythm from game to game, and it kind of messes with your confidence when you play great one game and then the next game you barely play because you're thinking, okay, I was playing great. Why am I barely seeing the game? And then when you actually get into the game, you're like, crap, I have to play terrific to even get a chance next game because if I play good, I'm not getting a chance. So it almost like it messes with guys' psyche when they're yanked around like that. I know from experience, like that's how it was my one season in college. The one season I played college ball, I had 16-minute stretch against the team that ended up winning the championship for the Northwest Junior College Championship. I think I was like 4 for 6 from the field, 4 for 4 from, what was it, like 3 for 3 from 3, and I don't know what my stats were. There was just a game. I had 16 minutes, dropped 12 points, played great defense, was like one of the best players on the court when the rest of the team struggled. Next game, I'm playing 4 minutes. Next game, I didn't play the first half. And it's like, I was told when I got recruited, okay, you're going to be a big part of our team. I never really got a chance all season. When I finally got 16 minutes, I played great. And then the next game, I don't play the first half. And it's like, what the hell? I get in the second half for 4 minutes. And it's like, I'm putting so much pressure on myself because it's like, crap, if I play terrific for 16 minutes and I can only get 3 minutes the next game, like what more do I have to do? And then I start doing too much. It psyched me out. So that was the way it was with Jake Layman down the stretch last year. So that's not a valid statement to say that Stotts was right in not playing Jake and they were right in letting Jake go, because as I've said, he just needed a consistent role. He just needed a consistent opportunity, and he needed to know that the coaching staff had confidence in him, which they should have, and that would have helped him play a lot better. I think he could have kept up that first half of the season for the second half if the coaching staff just gave him a regular role and had confidence in him for those very reasons.
Yeah, and so
and he just said in all caps, misses with confidence when you don't get consistent run. I'm speaking from experience, bro. Like it's a common thing. I've seen it personally at high school, at college levels. I've played basketball, and it's been a personal thing with me. So if you're trying to say it's BS, then try and tell me how my personal experiences were BS.
And then also, so this is,
and he's still on that, and he's now, let me just rant at this guy, because this is the last time I'm gonna reference this guy. I've told you many different ways how they could have gotten more than just open corner threes. If your offense can only get corner threes and have to rely on a guy who shot 32% last year to hit corner threes to be a team full of G League level players, that probably says you're not a good coach, because you're relying on a 32% 3-point shooter to knock down threes, and that's your only option out of your entire offense. Run a damn set to get that guy who's athletic with a 7-foot wingspan. He's 6'5" and he's quick and he can finish inside. Get him moving around so he might have a chance to catch the ball going towards the rim where he can finish inside, or maybe draw the defense and he can kick out to a better shooter than him, instead of just saying, okay, we just have to let Kent Bazemore shoot 5 threes from the quarter and hope he makes one. Like we've tried to explain that multiple ways, man. You don't have to agree. I'm not saying you have to agree, but like you're not even commenting on what we're saying. You just keep saying the same thing and ignoring how we're trying to explain this. So you keep saying, how the F you gonna blame Stoss for that? Like, we've tried to explain this, man. So that's the last time I'm going to comment on that. Well, he also said, bro, the open corner three is the easiest and most valuable shot in the whole league. Not when it's a 32% shooter who's in a shooting slump.
Okay,
who's shooting worse than 32%.
Okay, so this game in particular, so we've been talking about how Simons needs more minutes, right? Mm-hmm. So this would have been the type of game they were playing 3 guards. We could have played 3 guards and had Simons be the corner 3, as shown in the Philadelphia game. Knock down that shot pressure situation. He could have been that guy spotting up in the corner instead of Bazemore this game, who was 1 for 6, and so like you don't have to put Bazemore in that position. Just like last year, you didn't have to have Aminu in that situation. We've already talked about how like we thought Skal should have been in the game too, but like put someone else in there to hit those corner threes. Put Hood in the corner. I know he was 1 for 8 tonight, but he didn't get many corner threes.
I mean, he's shooting over 50% from 3 the entire season. So, and he's hit clutch threes. He hit clutch threes in that Mavericks game. So why does it have to be Bazemore shooting? It's like he could have made those open threes for Bazemore. Put somebody else in the corner. I 100% agree with that.
And Matt, there is a difference between consistent run throughout 7 years of your career and a person who's just getting a role in the rotation for the first time and getting subbed out every single time he does something bad on the floor. It's the same thing that messed with Myers' psyche too. And I'm not saying Myers is a good player, but anytime he made a mistake, he would get taken out of a game. And it's hard to play that way, where you are playing just, please don't mess this up. Like, I have to make this shot when I shoot it, instead of just letting it fly. Like CJ, it doesn't matter what the hell he does on the court because he's never going to get taken out in the fourth quarter no matter what he does. So, like, it's just frustrating that you wouldn't think that has anything to do with how a player's psyche is or how he performs on the court. Vonleh was the same way. Like, no matter how he did, like, he came in that Nurk fever stretch and he was playing well. He had a couple double-doubles for the first time in his career. And then he, like, barely played after that again. And, like, it's like, what did he do wrong to get in the doghouse? And, Yep.
Yeah, I mean, CJ not playing the last 6 minutes of the fourth quarter, when he's playing 35 minutes per game and has been playing for the past 5 years, benching him for the last 6 minutes of a fourth quarter, I don't think is really going to mess with his psyche compared to not playing Layman pretty much every other game when he's playing good when he actually sees the floor. Like, that's a completely different situation. I shouldn't even spend time arguing that because you should know that CJ and his role is completely different than Layman finally finding his way into the rotation.
And then there's more comments about how it's the first 10 games of the season. Let Stotts figure it out. What were the excuses against this team tonight? They've never played together. They don't need to figure anything out. They whooped our ass tonight.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like we shouldn't criticize them because of the first 10 games of the season. Okay, so game 11, can we finally criticize them? Because then I feel like the answer then is, oh, it's only game 11. That's the thing. It's just like it's deflecting. It's deflecting the problem. It's like that's what I hate about media members do this, man, and that's why I hate about people. Oh, it's only game 7. Oh, it's only this. It's only that. It's just like an excuse to not point out the problems in our offense. The thing is, if the coaching staff is thinking like that and the players are thinking like that, they're not going to improve them. Game 7, you have to be focusing on what you're doing wrong early in the season so that you can fix it at some point during the season. You need to fix it sooner rather than later, or game 20, we're still going to be talking about the same things, and we're going to be looking at a record where we're like 5-15 or 6-14 or something like that. So that's the thing. You have to address it now. I approach like analyzing this team as a fan from kind of a player's mindset. I played a lot of basketball. I still play basketball. So a lot of my mindset is a little bit different than fans who may not have really played much organized basketball, who are a little bit more positive than me. For me, it's just like, okay, what do we need to work on? What are we struggling at? What do we need to fix? I don't care if it's game 1. I don't care if it's game 82. I don't care what it is. If we're struggling with something, we need to work on it, need to fix it. That's how it always was in a team construct when I played, and that's how it should be for an NBA team. So if the Blazers are thinking, oh, what happened tonight is fine, it's only game 7, it's the first 10 games, then they're screwed for the rest of the season, honestly.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's just not a mentality you have. You have to be like, no, this isn't. I mean, I hope they're having like a players meeting tonight saying like, we got to be better in this. And
when have we ever, I mean, maybe they keep their players meetings under wraps where we don't hear about it, but a lot of other teams you hear, okay, they had a players only meeting. Have we ever heard about a players only meeting? I mean, shoot, we're talking about winning a championship this year, and we're losing to a team that started Kai Bowman, Jordan Poole, Glenn Robinson III, Eric Paschal, and Willie Cauley-Stein, and we're talking about championship? That's the standard we're held to. If we were just like a mediocre team, maybe hoping to make the playoffs, that'd be different. We're talking about winning a damn championship, and we're losing to this team, and we're trying to search for excuses? That's not what championship teams do. Championship teams, first, don't lose this game. Second, if they did lose this game, they're not searching for excuses saying, oh, it was only game 7.
Yeah, and then combine that with the way you lost the game on Saturday. And we knew this was going to be a tough stretch, and that's why it's important not to mess these games up like this. Like, I mean, because now you're looking at, instead of the high end of your 20-game system thing that you broke down, we're looking at the lower end of it, and it's like going to be really hard to even make the playoffs if we don't come out of this funk in the next couple games. And then, but you're looking at, it just gets harder from here, you know, with the Clippers coming up on Thursday now. And, you know, we could win that game. It's not like it's impossible. Just, it's frustrating to lose games like this when we should be 5-2 right now instead of 3-4. And just think of how much prettier we'd be sitting right now if that was the case.
Yep. Yeah. Russell first-round exit Westbrook says, everyone knows you need at least 81 games to really get a rhythm and get a feel for how a team really plays.
Yep. Just one game.
So, Yeah, yeah. Oh my god, man. I'm just tired of hearing the same stuff. I'm just tired of hearing the deflecting. I'm just tired. Like, that's the stuff that bugs me, man. Is people that like you don't have to be critical of the Blazers if you don't want to. People on Twitter or whatnot. It's the people that go out of their way to bash or to attack people who are critical of the problems out there that I really don't like. That's why I didn't like what Chad Doing tweeted out earlier today. That's why I didn't like how he singled me out, because there's a lot of people that do that, and he's encouraging people to do that. If you don't want to be critical, fine. If you want to be, oh, it's just game 7, fine, but don't discredit people who are critical, who know their stuff, who are I don't know, people just use it as an excuse to go after people who are critical of the team, act like they're crazy. Chad Doing basically called us clowns in his tweet, stuff like that. I don't like that type of stuff, and I'm going to stand up to that stuff. Like, if you're a supporter of the channel and you're acting that way to us, like, I appreciate your support. We're all Blazers fans in the end, but you can disagree with us. That's completely fine. Just don't come in here with the attitude like how the F is Stotts supposed to help people not making open threes? And then we answer it for the 4th time, and then you still say the same thing, like, bro, what are you talking about? How's he supposed to do this? Like, we'll explain it, and if you don't like our explanation, fine, but don't ask us 5 times, and that's just kind of how I feel on it.
And for the record, I think Stotts is a great coach, like, for a rebuilding team or a younger team.
Because he's really good at developing players. He's really good at instilling confidence. That's what rebuilding teams need.
Yeah, for certain players.
Yeah. But his situational basketball isn't that good, and he's doesn't make enough adjustments. And the playoffs are a game of adjustments. You have to be able to make adjustments in the playoffs, and his sets and schemes kind of break down against elite teams. That's why I don't think he's a good coach for a playoff team. Me and you agree on this.
And I'm totally fine with someone who thinks Stotts is a good coach, but that doesn't mean you have to tell me that I'm wrong about my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, the facts are he does not make adjustments well, either in game or in the playoffs, and the adjustments he do make are usually too late. The Pelican series, he didn't make basically a single adjustment the whole time. He just kept running pick and roll to death and letting Dame get trapped the same way every game that series. The Thunder inexplicably didn't trap us at all, and that's why we had success, because our style of play fit what they were trying to do to stop us, and that's because Donovan is a worse coach than Stotts is.
Yeah.
And Denver doesn't have the personnel to do what Anthony Davis could do to us. And then the minute we played a team that did have a Draymond Green type, or even Kevon Looney freaking was having success double teaming Dame.
Yeah.
We just kept running the pick and roll still. It's just
that's the problem with that's the thing. People were like, "Oh, pick and roll is a staple of the offense." It's like, yeah, but we don't know when to move away from it because we rely on it far too heavily. So that when teams figure out how to defend it and trap it and make it so that it doesn't work for us, we're not able to pivot away from it because we don't have enough different wrinkles and different sets that don't involve a pick and roll at the end of them, or we don't have good enough sets. We're able to get looks throughout the set, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, so many of our sets just end with us running pick and roll. It's and then teams trap that, and we get screwed in the playoffs. Like, that's what happened against the Pelicans. The thing is, the Thunder did a horrible job of trapping the pick and roll. Dame was also pulling up and hitting insane shots from 30 feet, so a lot, like, Steven Adams didn't realize he needed to go out there. Dame played one of the best series, maybe the best series that I've ever seen a player individually play against the Thunder. And then in that second round, Denver trapped it a bit, but we actually, the thing is, that second round last year, Stotts actually made improvement because we utilized Hood against Murray in the low post. And the thing is, though, a lot of it was iso ball, and CJ was kind of cooking, and CJ was playing like out of his mind that series, and we still barely won that series against an inexperienced Denver team. So I don't know, man. It's hard to be optimistic. But looking at the comments, Eric Bouchard says, at Blazers Uprise, the glass half full people fail to realize that it's just as likely that the Blazers could be 1-6 as their dream scenarios of 6-1. Yeah, we barely won 2 of the games. We barely beat. What was it? We barely beat Dallas, and then who was the team we beat on the last game of the road trip? Why am I already blanking on this?
OKC.
And then we barely beat OKC. That OKC team isn't that good. We barely beat them too. Like, we could have easily lost both those games. Yeah. AM Production said, I mean, the 2015-2016 Blazers had a rough start of the season, and then they finished as the 5 seed and beat the Clippers in Game 7 of the first round. We won 44 games that season to get the 5 seed. If we win 44 games this season, it's very likely that we don't make the playoffs.
Yep.
So, yeah, and that roster was a lot worse than this roster. So there's no excuse. Dame that was his first year being the guy. That was CJ's first year playing regular minutes. So, and also there's a solid chance we lose that series if Blake Griffin and Chris Paul got hurt. I'm not saying they won it because of it, because in Game 4 to tie it up, we were winning when both those guys got hurt. But that's a 2-2 series with the Clippers having 2 of the last 3 games at home. If they were healthy, it would have been hard to pull out that series anyway. So
Matt's saying, I appreciate your coverage, guys. I just think your Stotts hate is too much. Dame and CJ going nuclear last playoff run is predicated on Stotts trusting his players. Yeah. Do you want to
Yeah, like, the thing is, the Stotts gives his players confidence, and sometimes having complete trust in players and letting them do whatever they want can pay off when you have elite offensive options. The thing is with Stotts is he doesn't know how to balance giving his players confidence and encouraging them to be aggressive and be confident and play confident. He doesn't know how to balance that with also holding them accountable, which is a tough thing to do as a coach. I'll give him that. It's tough to not hold players so accountable that they're kind of scared to mess up and, kind of ruins their confidence. And it's hard on the other side to make sure they're confident without holding them accountable. That's the thing, though, is Stotts doesn't hold players accountable enough. He could still trust his players, still let them do things, but also hold them accountable, coach them up a little bit more. And if CJ's having an awful game, you bench CJ and you talk about it to him. The next practice, talk about why he wasn't performing well, and you work on that with him. And then hopefully there's improvement. And then if CJ improves the next game, you play him 36 minutes and you trust him and you let him play his game.
And we spent the whole first half of this thing talking about the defensive side of the ball, and that's the problem too, is he trusts them on offense, but he also gives them that same trust on defense, and that's not warranted, and he doesn't ever hold them accountable on that end of the floor. So what about our defense this year is terrible, and we're giving up 3-point shots? Is that scheme to you, Matt, or is that Stotts should just let his players do their thing and trust them that they're going to figure it out on defense?
Yeah. And then he's replying to Cody Franklin saying, no, I'm not upset. I'm just saying these guys' coverage is so anti-Stotts that when they have a good run, it's all players, and when it's a bad run, it's all Stotts. No, I don't. That's really not what we're saying, man. And it seems like you're really kind of struggling to figure out what we're saying. If you just think we're Stotts haters, like, it's all based in fact, it's all based in reality, it's all based on what we see in the game of basketball. Might not see the same things, but it's not like we're just being anti-Stotts to be anti-Stotts, and it's not like we're not willing to give him credit when he does well. I just said Stotts had improvement in the second round against Denver last season because he moved away from the pick and roll and utilized that hood mismatch. I'm willing to give Stotts credit when Stotts deserves credit, but right now, after losing that game, there's no credit to be had for Stotts. Stotts struggled that game, and the thing is, there's a lot of games we win where it's just Dame and CJ playing a lot of iso ball and being so talented that they carry us on their backs and we win. That's not Stotts either. I don't see why Stotts deserves credit for that. So it's not. I don't know, man. I don't know how else to explain it. I wish Stotts coached better. If Stotts improved, I would say he improved, and I would point out why he improved, and I'd be happier with Stotts. I was very critical of Olshey until this past offseason. Olshey improved. Now, Olshey had a good offseason, I think, and I'm crediting Olshey for that. So it's not like I'm not willing to give Stotts or Olshey credit. It's not like if I don't like what somebody's doing that they can't redeem themselves in my eyes.
Yeah, we've said several things that he does well. I mean,
Yeah, we just went through it. So it's, I don't know. That's the thing. People get caught up, I don't know, too much on us being anti-Stotts that they can't see that we give them props for certain things and they can't take our words as honest. They almost take it as we just want to bash Stotts. No, man. But there is some blame to go for the coach when you lose to a roster against when you're talking about championship and you lose to a roster full of G League level players. There's going to be some blame for the coach.
And here's the thing. So he just, is saying, would he be the player he is today? Well, what has he really done? Like, I mean, it's not like we've won a championship or something and that we can rest on our laurels that we're saying that we think he's a good coach, but we don't think he's capable of leading this team to a championship like a Popovich possibly could. So I don't know what he'd be like under Popovich, but I do know the team around him would have a much better shot of winning a championship if Popovich was the coach of this team.
Yeah. Yeah. And Cody Franklin, he's commenting. He tweeted out on me how I've helped him see more things on the basketball court, which I think is a really cool comment because even if people disagree with me, I hope that I'm able to maybe make them see some of the things that I see. But he said it's deeper than just Stotts. Hey, it's actual criticism of his system, and that's true. And he said, okay, Matt, what else? If all we need is a coach to instill trust, we could hire a coach for much cheaper.
Yeah.
And then maybe we'd have the money to use that last roster spot, even though we're over the luxury tax, and we could get Kenneth Faried.
Man, that'd be nice right now.
I mean, and Matt says you're right in that he sucks at making adjustments. That's the thing, man. I just wanted to see him play more aggressive defense tonight coming out of half. Trap, switch it up on them. Impose your will defensively. They never did that, and that really that bothered me because that's a team that I feel like if you pressured them, if you trapped their pick and rolls, they wouldn't have known what to do. With an inexperienced team like that, they don't know how to handle a curveball thrown at them like that coming out of halftime. But we just kept playing the same defense.
And we said this before the first preseason game, what we wanted to see out of the defense this year. And we both agreed that we want to see multiple looks in games. Like not just having one game plan for every team and using the same game plan against every team. And from the first preseason game, it is obvious that our defense is not predicated on stopping the three-point shot, which is the most important thing to try to limit right now in the game of basketball because most of the teams just shoot threes. And occasionally you get a team like the 76ers where, yeah, we gave up a ton of paint points, but we still should have won the game even though we gave up 80-some points in the paint. It's just not how the game of basketball is played very much anymore. So, where's the adjustments to stop the hot three-point shooting against us? Why are we continuing to allow people? Why not force them to drive and run them off the three-point line? It's just not happening, and I don't understand why we're not trying. Okay, first half sucked tonight. That didn't work. Go to this defense the second half. At least try something different. But no, we just ran the same thing out there, hoping that that trust in Dame and CJ was that they would get hot and we'd win this game. And what's the saying about trying the same thing over or trying something that's not working over and over again is the definition of insanity or something like that? Yeah, exactly.
I forget what that saying is. Yeah, that's what we did tonight. Insidious Sweet said, we trapped at the end of the game and it looked good. Yeah, you see how sped up they were? They were sped up even though they should have been taking the air out of the ball, and they looked a little frantic, a little loose with the ball. Imagine if and the thing is, we were completely selling out. I don't mean that we should have completely sold out. At that point, we needed to create a bunch of turnovers. We should have just ramped up the pressure and see what happens. If, they handled it really well, then we can always fall back to a conservative defense, but I don't think they would have handled it well. So throw them a curveball like that when you're struggling defensively. You're already not playing good defense, so what more is there to lose?
Yeah,
it just drives me crazy, man. It's just the same. It's just the same problems. That's the thing that people that say, "Oh, it's only Game 7." It's it's the same problems I've been talking about for 3 years. It's not just Game 7 for me. It's game 250 that I've been talking about the same issues. You know what I mean? And I still see these issues in games that we win. You know what I mean? And in games that we win, I'm not going to talk about these issues as much. I want to be positive on a post-game show that we win, especially with how negative everything's been lately. So hopefully we beat the Clippers and we have some positive things to talk about. But these are consistent problem areas year in, year out. So that's why I hate the people saying, oh, it's only a 7-game sample size that you're talking about. You're overreacting. No, it's the same things I've been pointing out year in, year out. I'm glad that I have a platform now where I can kind of point this stuff out, share my views, get it off my chest. It feels good, honestly.
And it'd be one thing if the defensive system was working well, and then occasionally at a game like tonight, it was like, oh, they just got hot, and it was. But like, how many teams have shot the lights out against us? Like, at some point, make an adjustment. Like, I don't understand why we're running the same defensive schemes.
Yeah. And I mean, the first quarter, I didn't think our defense was horrible. They hit a lot of contested shots, but our defense against jump shots got worse as the game went on. They hit a bunch of shots in the first quarter when we were playing okay defense, and then it got worse, and they kept hitting shots because it got worse.
Well, Paschal, the first 2 threes he hit, Tolliver just got lost. He was on like no man's land waiting.
A contending team is playing Anthony Tolliver right now, man. It drives me crazy. I can't believe we're playing. I can't believe we're starting Anthony Tolliver, man, and we're playing Anthony Tolliver more than Skal. Oh God. And we play the Clippers next, so. I mean, maybe we play up to the Clippers level. Maybe it's like, okay, it's the Clippers. We got to play hard to win this game. And they come in with a different level of energy. But I feel like Kawhi Leonard is going to drop like 45 against us, honestly. And nobody will be able to match Harrell's energy off the bench. Hopefully it's a load management game for Kawhi Leonard.
And
we already had one of those.
One thing about the end of the games is it's a staple of Stott's system. And it's one really cool thing about it is that his teams never give up. They always try till the end or whatever. Sometimes it might be bad because like a night like tonight, Dame shouldn't be playing the minutes he played tonight. He played 37 minutes. I mean, we're going to run him. Like he was tired in the playoffs last year. We're going to burn him out way early. But so
stagger Damon CJ and play Simons 25, 26 minutes and play Damon CJ 35 minutes per game instead of Dame playing 38. Why aren't we playing Simons more? Why is Gary Trent getting minutes because we have to run an all bench unit out there instead of staggering Damon CJ so Simons has more guard minutes available to him? Because the more you stagger Damon CJ, the more you keep one of those guys on the court, the more guard minutes are available for Simons, because when both Dame and CJ are out of the game, there's 2 guard spots open. Simons can only play one of them, if that makes sense. So that's why Gary Trent Jr. is getting first half minutes. Just stagger Dame and CJ and play Simons more. CJ might get going playing against a bench unit. You know what I mean? Like, that might help his rhythm instead of constantly playing against starters. Like, God, dude, his rotations... 2 years ago, his rotations weren't really a problem. His rotations have gotten more and more mind-boggling and more frustrating for me.
And the frustrating part to me is when we do get down like in fourth quarters and we do play up tempo with some urgency and stuff like that, we always play well in those situations. That's why we come back. And that's why I'm so frustrated that we don't ever push the tempo earlier in the game. Like, especially in the regular season against a team like tonight, like run the ball, just run them out of the gym. And but we're walking the ball up. And then if we miss a shot, and then they hit a couple threes, we're all like stunned and down, and it's just like those times where we're down in the fourth quarter and we're pushing the ball. It shows that can be effective for us, but we never do it. And I don't
play aggressive defense and get turnovers so that you can spark a fast break going the other way, so that you don't have to consistently play in the half court, and so that you can maybe get a defensive stop. It's crazy. Cody Franklin said there have been 2 teams in the last 2 years who have won championships after ditching their coaches, even though they were 50-win teams. The Warriors and the Raptors. They ditched Mark Jackson and Dwayne Casey the year after those guys won 50 games with their team. That's the thing. Like, those were talented teams. Those were really talented teams. So they were able to get to the playoffs in spite of their coaching. Like, Mark Jackson was a bad coach. Dwayne Casey had a lot of the same problems that Stotts does. They moved off those coaches and immediately took them to the next level. Even look at the Milwaukee Bucks. I know they were young, but they moved off Jason Kidd and brought in Mike Budenholzer, immediately improved. I wanted Mike Budenholzer in 2018.
That's what I was just going to say. Both of us were on the Budenholzer train. We both...
The year after Stotts
the Pelicans
had that
series.
first round against the Pelicans, man.
Yep.
And Budenholzer is a great coach. He's able to adapt his offense to his players, but he's also able to provide different little, like a lot of the different little wrinkles I'd like to see. And he's also not afraid to hold guys accountable, because he's a Pop disciple. That's kind of a trait that Pop disciples have. Even like a guy like Ettore Messina is a guy that I would have replace Stotts right now. He's a foreign guy. He's coaching in Europe. Never got a chance in the NBA. Always deserved a chance in the NBA. I've watched hours of his clinics, and a lot of the things he teaches are a lot of the problems that I have with Stotts, because Stotts doesn't do those things. So I always hate the argument, oh, who would you hire right now then? If you're going to criticize Stotts, you have to say somebody you'll hire. Well, you don't really fire a coach 7 games into the season. So, thought we should have replaced him years ago. So you don't always have to have a replacement in mind for criticizing Stotts. Like, it's just moving off of the actual criticism, the actual thing we're trying to focus on that needs improvement, into more like, well, who would you replace? Like, it's not actually focusing on the problem. That's the thing. The discussion with a lot of Stotts defenders moves off the actual problem. We're not actually discussing basketball, and moves on to something else where they're, it's almost like an interview question.
Yeah, and we both agree that Stotts isn't going to get fired, so it doesn't really matter what we say, but we talked about this earlier today. If Stotts isn't questioning some of these same things we're questioning, then what the hell is he doing? Like, he should be, like, we had someone in the forum tell us that, oh, Stotts is his worst critic or whatever, And
I haven't seen Stotts be critical. I've never seen Stotts admit he made a mistake. Even after Game 1 against the Golden State Warriors, he actually got asked about it by some national media members, and he would not admit that he was playing the wrong defense, when it was obvious to everybody and their mothers and their grandmothers that Stotts was playing the wrong defense. Like, oh man, dude, that's the thing. I've never seen him say he made a mistake, or I've never seen him be critical of himself at all. Like, when it came to them apparently not being instructed to switch against the 76ers on that final possession, he just said, oh, Dame got caught on a really good screen and tried to get there to make a contest, but he was open.
Yeah, where's the, oh, that's my bad, I should have known to switch in that situation, but I thought Dame could get through it and I made a wrong decision or something, Like, yeah. But instead, I don't know, it's just...
JP says, if I'm remembering correctly, didn't we start out last year relying on threes and then get more cutting towards the rim later in the season? Yeah, but we were utilizing Nurkic. Nurkic is a high post passer, and that's the thing. A lot of people saying, oh, well, we don't have that really good big man passer. You don't need a center to be getting 4 assists per game to run an offense that involves movement and involves good cuts. Like, those things don't... Like, you don't need that. That's not a requirement to run a good offensive system and to get more action inside. So, I mean, once Nurkic comes back, hopefully it'll improve. Hopefully it'll improve before that, because it needs to improve right now. But that's the thing. Terry Stotts, it almost seems like he needs a great passing big man to be able to utilize cutters, which is kind of silly to me, because that's not something that a lot of other teams need, and they still run a good, effective offense that puts pressure with cutters and with movers on the rim. So...
All right, so Matt, if the problem is our perimeter players are getting cooked on defense, but you're saying that Stotts has trust in his players and he's not going to hold them accountable for those mistakes on defense. So, like, what are you saying then? Like, isn't that the reason why we're struggling on defense, is because he's not getting on those guys for defensive mistakes?
He says, who on this team would you consider a good defender? I think Rodney Hood has the potential to be a good defender. I think he's a solid defender right now. Kent Bazemore's a good defender. Mario Hezonja has actually been an impressive defender. And it's not even necessarily about guys being good defenders. Like, CJ needs to give 100% effort. That's the thing. It's like, if CJ gave 100% effort and still got beat, then I'm not going to blame Stotts for that, because CJ's out there giving 100% effort. A lot of times I see CJ playing lazy defense, not giving 100% effort, and then he's not held accountable for it. So Stotts has to hold people accountable when they're making defensive mistakes, having defensive mental lapses, letting guys backdoor cut them because they're not paying enough attention. He needs to hold them accountable when they're not giving 100% effort. because a lot of us getting burned on the perimeter isn't because we're bad perimeter defenders. It's because we're not giving enough effort and we're not locked in enough mentally.
So you're not saying he isn't holding them accountable, but you're also saying that he's a good coach because he lets them do what they want, and he trusts them to do what they want. That's kind of conflicting, man.
And yeah, Matt Narvaez, that is what I said. I don't think he's holding CJ accountable on defense. CJ will have 3 horrible defensive lapses in a row, and CJ will remain in the game. And I don't see Sauce say a word to him. CJ will have a game full of defensive lapses and be horrible offensively, and he'll still get subbed back in at the 6 to 8 minute mark in the fourth for Anthony Simons, who's actually giving 100% effort on defense. So, no, he doesn't hold him accountable. And the thing, yeah, that Cody Franklin says, could you imagine our offense if we ran sets and implemented Dame, CJ, and Rodney correctly? Yeah, those guys are 3 terrific 3-level scorers. All those guys can score at all 3 levels, can score off the dribble, can spot up, hit threes. Our offense should be top 5 offense in the league with those 3, man. And then you got like a good pick and roll big in Hassan Whiteside, who got like 19 points per 36 minutes last year and is an efficient finisher, is a good lob target, is a good offensive rebounder. Yeah, those 4 guys are good enough for us to have a top 5 offense in the league. NBA players should not need to be motivated to play defense. Yeah, but like any human, they're prone to mental lapses. They're prone to being lazy. So you have to have somebody correct them and hold them accountable when they are.
I mean, we just go through the game film tonight and just point out every time that someone fell asleep and just stood there while their guy cut baseline for a wide open lay-in. They should all be on Shaq and the Fool. Start his own Shaq and the Fool for all these defensive lapses they've had. There's those multiple times where 2 people run to 1 player off the ball and don't even get the guy they're supposed to guard.
Yeah, we need to answer this from Eric Bouchard or Bouchard, however you say it. He says, well, like I said, to be fair, I see Lillard lollygagging on defense a lot to start the year. He's been great on offense, but it could be hard to hold CJ2 accountable with that in mind. Dude, Dame is absolutely busting his ass on offense, and Dame is still giving more energy than CJ on the defensive end, and Lillard is literally the entire offense. You know how much energy it takes to make some of the drives he makes to do the things that Dame is doing? Like, it's not an excuse for him lollygagging, but from what I've seen, like at the start of quarters, out of timeouts, at the start of halves, Lillard is playing with a lot of defensive energy, but he's playing like 37, 38 minutes per game and being ran into the ground with how much he has to do offensively to get our team a good shot. He's constantly taking hits, constantly driving 1-on-4 right now, that he tires out, and you can tell it's not that Dame is being lazy. He gets burnt out and he struggles to keep up that energy because of it. CJ, start of games, will have to defensive mental lapses, and his energy will also, like, it will automatically not be where it needs to be. It's not that CJ is tired and that's the reason why, because it's a consistent thing throughout the entire game, no matter if he just sub back in, if it's the start of the game, if it's the end of the game. So that's the difference with those 2. And yeah, Dame takes a ton of charges. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like Dame makes good defensive plays. He gets his hands, he gets more deflections than CJ does, and he steps in and he takes charges. He'll be gassed and like not giving much effort, but if he is able to get in front and take a hit for a charge, he's sacrificing his body. How many charges do you see CJ take?
Not many. I don't remember the last time I saw CJ.
I've never seen it. So yeah, so anyway, like, lots of problems, really tough game tonight. Very, very frustrating. We've had a solid viewer base this entire game. Like, I don't know, like, people are tuning into these more and more because they know these are after every game, but I wonder, like, if we won tonight, if we would have had the same viewership. Maybe people like tuning in more after a loss so they can vent. I'm actually kind of curious about that. Eric Bouchard followed it up, said, I agree. I'm a CJ hater and believe we should trade him, but let's be really honest here. CJ is running around just as much as Lillard on offense. No, CJ is not expending as much energy as Lillard is on offense. I don't agree with that, man. And that's super subjective. But in a lot of the time, CJ is burning himself on offense when he shouldn't be. A lot of times that's CJ going like into hero ball, iso ball mode, and not playing a good style of basketball offensively and trying to do too much on his own. The thing is, Dame is skilled enough to drive 1-on-3 and finish and score through 3 defenders, and a lot of time he has to because that's the way our offense is set up. So Dame's doing what he has to do, but I still don't think CJ is expending as much energy on offense, and he still has those defensive lapses at the start of quarters, at the start of halves. He still has those defensive lapses when he should have enough energy to play defense, so I'm not going to use the offense excuse for CJ not having energy defensively.
And just to piggyback on that, so I kind of agree with him that CJ, I mean, he's always among the leaders in miles ran on the floor and all that stuff. But that's kind of what our point has been all along, is that guys like CJ would be better if he wasn't doing so much. You know what I mean?
Like Stotts, yeah. So Stotts needs to coach him up on that, man.
So, like, if CJ, like, what happened to running like a double pick off the ball to get like a guy like the Reggie Miller, Ray Allen type screens, where you run them from one side of the court to the other off the ball to get him a 3-point shot? We don't do anything like that. It's all dribble handoffs, and he has to go then break someone down off the dribble. And that's much tougher than being a spot-up shooter or the type of energy that like Hood is using on offense. And Dame is when he's running pick and roll like almost every play. We've been saying this for years, that if Dame could get shots off the ball, both his efficiency and his stamina would improve, and he'd be better suited for the playoffs. But in the playoffs, we just go right back to, oh, here you go, Dame. Here you go, CJ. Dame, you run your pick and roll. CJ, you go 1-on-3. Let's see if you can make a shot.
And then you have guys like Chad Doing trying to tell me that Stotts is an offensive genius. Okay. Like, all right, bud. Following up on Eric Bouchard, or first, Matt Narvaez, he said, oh, if they won tonight, I wouldn't be here. No disrespect, but I fully expected not to be here for multiple hours tonight. I didn't expect to be streaming past midnight, honestly, but here we are. You know what I mean? Here we are. I wonder why you wouldn't want to tune in if we won and only wanted to tune in if we lost. It would have been a ton of fun to just win and have a relaxing game and just have a chill, positive live stream. So that just has me curious. But Eric Bouchard said, he factually runs more than any other player in the NBA. Dame is also awful at off-ball movement. I think you're being too subjective here based on the results. A lot of CJ's running is a lot of it's a lot of jogging in a straight line. It's a lot of the way they run sets where CJ is kind of running around the perimeter, then running baseline. He's not even running full speed. That doesn't use up as much energy as Dame when he's like explosively starting, then explosively decelerating, then exploding the other way, then exploding up through multiple defenders. That takes a lot more energy than CJ, the way, he runs around on offense, even though CJ is traveling more miles statistically. He's traveling further. The Dame is awful at off-ball movement. He doesn't... If we had sets that had him... We don't really have sets that utilize him off-ball, though. Like, freelance and off-ball movement, he's not really used to that. That's the thing. If he got used to that, if he was coached on, moving off the ball, if he was coached on being more of an off-the-ball player, he would get better at that. If he had been coached like that his whole career, he could be as good as Steph Curry at off-ball movement. And there's still like good possessions where I think he moves well off the ball. I think he relocates well, and I think he knows kind of when to backdoor cut. So I wouldn't say he's awful. But also, like, you can have design sets where he knows like where he should go when he's off the ball. Bo Lee says, I disagree that Dame should be driving 1v3, forces some bad shots up too. Right now he's hitting those shots, and literally that's the only way we're getting into the paint, because CJ isn't doing much offensively. Like, how else are we going to get into the paint? How else are we going to collapse the defense and get shots? If Dame wasn't driving 1-on-3, we wouldn't be scoring 80 points per game right now.
And this is why, like, you are pining so hard for a guy like Blake Griffin, is because he is the type of player who can get guards open shots. He's done it for years. He averaged like 5+ assists last year. and that's with crappy guards.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I think we need to. I don't. We just need to trust like Hood and stuff to create a little more. Um, it's frustrating because Dame's playing great right now, and it's hard to be critical of someone who's playing at an MVP level. Yeah, I mean, I guess we are kind of biased on the defensive end, but like I think he deserves a pass for being the leader of this team and for everything else he does on the court. But there really isn't anyone playing great defensively. We mentioned a couple people who we think individually are playing okay, but I mean, there's just way too many lapses on defense,
Yeah.
and it happens. There's multiple breakdowns almost every possession on the defensive end, and they need to keep hammering at home in film sessions and practice until they can figure that out. They had a couple days off in between the OKC game and the Philly game. I think they have the Clipper game is until Thursday night, so they have another 2 nights to work on stuff. Yeah. Right now. I mean, they just need to get better at this. I mean, there's no excuse for how many open threes teams are getting against us right now.
Yep, 1,000%. Matt made a comment saying, guys, flow literally starts with a single back screen and a pin down. The thing is, that back screen is more of a flare screen. The way it's angled, the ball is up top, and that back screen is more of a flare screen. The guard usually loops that around, but because the ball is up top, that has to be a lob pass to a guard, which doesn't really have a high chance of success. I'm talking about a back screen for a wing where the ball is on one side and it's a weak side back screen for the wing. And since the ball is free throw line extended instead of up top, you have an angle to deliver a direct pass to that player where they can get a lay-in, where you don't have to lob it over a set defense, if that makes sense. The pin down also, it's angled in a way where the guy coming off that pin down is running towards the three-point arc. That's the type of motion I'm talking about, how it's all geared to getting guys the ball around the three-point line. It's not, that pin down isn't really geared to get guys the ball in the paint. Sometimes guys curl that, but the angle isn't really the best to for a curl there. I'd rather see guys, I'd rather it be set at the elbow for a guy to curl around it, or set closer to the elbow instead closer to the baseline. I don't know. Just like the angling of screens just isn't freeing guys up going towards the rim. It's more to free guys up to catch the ball on the perimeter. There's something that I could break down with game footage, and if we still have these same set problems, I'll kind of show you guys what I'm talking about, because it's definitely really hard to illustrate just by talking about it.
And then a lot of our pin down screens just get the guy open so he can come up and receive the handoff going from south to north towards half court instead of east to west. And that's the frustrating part, is even if the guy's open coming off that screen, he usually just runs to the top of the key and then runs around another guy. And by that time, his defender's caught up, and it's kind of all pointless motion, and it's just wasted energy.
Yep. 100%. That's why CJ leads the league in miles ran, even though he's not really making good movement offensively. Matt also says, we'll be tuning in for the future for sure, because I'm interested in Blazers discussion. Yeah, man, appreciate it. We disagree on some things, but hopefully, like, I don't know, you don't have to agree with me, but hopefully you kind of understand what I'm talking about here, even if you don't think it's necessarily as big of a problem as we seem to think it is. He also says direct Blazer media from the team is the most vanilla thing ever. That's why you got to tune into this platform, because it's two diehard fans who and Chad Doing's a diehard fan, and Outsiders are diehard fans, but like we bring it to you straight. We say what we think. No commercials. Like, that I always wanted to create a platform like this, because I always personally wanted to watch something like this compared to what was out there. So
I still can't believe we're talking about a loss.
Oh my god, dude! That's the thing. I don't mind this long stream, because the more I talk about it, the more I put it in the back of my mind and forget about it. And honestly, I'm a lot more pessimistic right now, which actually makes it kind of easier. But like, a start season is like, okay, we're in contender mode. Right now, it's like, oh, I hope we figure this out so we don't miss the playoffs.
Yeah,
that's kind of my mindset right now. Because I mean, it's a hard early season schedule, but we do not have it together at all right now. The fact that we lost this game is ridiculous. Oh man.
Well, also, like, it kind of sucks that if all those people who are like, oh, this is a 40-win team, that like if they're proven right, and it's not even.
Oh, I know. That's the thing. That's the thing. It's like if I'm not liking what I'm seeing, I'm gonna explain it because I can't stand the trolls that are like, oh, we're gonna lose this game because we suck. You know what I mean? Like, or just like pessimistic like that. Like, I'm always gonna try and not be that pessimistic, even if I'm feeling pretty down about it. I'll say, you know what, this is something that we're struggling with. This might be something that we're struggling with the future. This is something that we need to fix instead of being like, oh, this team just sucks and we're gonna miss the playoffs. Because that's nobody wants to watch somebody with an attitude like that. So shout out to Cody Franklin for saying this has been a fun stream to hang out in. Appreciate it, man. Are you a new subscriber, new viewer of Blazers Uprise? I'm kind of curious about like how many. I don't know. It's always nice to know like who's kind of like new, who just discovered us. Because I do want to grow this platform, so it is. I am curious about that type of stuff, like how you if you're new, like how did you find us, that type of thing. Because that, for marketing purposes, that type of thing. Appreciate the $3 donation though. Dude, you guys have been killing it with the donations today. I think I got like a $5 earlier. I don't know, like an hour and a half ago, 2 hours ago. Yeah, I got $2 from Russell Westbrook. Russell first round exit Westbrook. You guys killing it with the donations. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Eric's talking about how the Jazz look terrible, but they're pulling out wins, and that's what I was saying earlier. Like the road trip didn't look great, but you grinded out 3 out of the 4 wins, good, and then you come home and you lose that one. If you just grind that one out and then win this game tonight that you absolutely should have won, like I said, we're talking about being 5-2 and second place in the West right now instead of.
Yeah. I mean, Matt Narvaez said, for what it's worth, Denver also looking bad. They lost to Phoenix, but Phoenix looks good. Cody Franklin said, been a sub for probably 3 to 5 months. I think I found you guys around playoff time last season, I think. Okay, I just didn't. Maybe you commented, and maybe I just didn't remember your name. Because I try and remember names of people that comment just so I know you guys. But I started. So you must have been watching when I was at True Blazer Fan. Because Eric started up like once I started my new channel, because I was working with True Blazer Fan. The guy who runs True Blazer Fan is also named Eric. He's not this Eric that's with me right now. I know that causes some people confusion. But then I split from True Blazer Fan, made my own platform, just because I wanted to do more stuff and it didn't feel right not doing it if it was my own platform. Since we had me and True Blazer Fan had different like long-term ideas for what we wanted to do, so it just didn't make a ton of sense to keep working together. But he gave me like my start on all this, gave me my platform, so I'm always thankful to him for that. He said he was just watching your videos, never in streams. Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun doing streams now. These streams have been fun, but I'm also going to try and get back on the grind with those videos and stuff.
Yeah.
Sir 3255 said, wow, super long post game. I know.
And the people talking about other teams struggling, and that's part of my frustration too, is like we could be setting ourselves up for a really nice seed in the playoffs right now and a really, really good season where we could possibly contend, and instead we're messing around with G League teams and losing games.
Yeah. So tomorrow we'll have mailbag. Hopefully, my voice is sore, so I don't know if I'll wait until tomorrow to record that. But dude, my voice is sore right now, so we're probably gonna shut the stream down. We still got 70 viewers right now, which is crazy because it's like 2.5 hours after the game. It just dropped to 67. But, the viewership engagement on this has been great. I love talking with you guys about Blazer basketball, win or loss, triumph or embarrassment. Still love talking about Blazer basketball with you guys.
Hey, real quick, do you want to go over our picks from earlier?
Oh, yeah. So during our podcast earlier today, we made over-under picks from the 6 games tonight. I kind of forgot who I picked. So I'll read off the final scores, and you can read off who got it right, who got it wrong. Maybe read the spread first. So first game, who did
Well,
Just read the spread and the picks, and I'll say the final score, and you
well,
can keep a tally.
we had the Portland Golden State was the first one. Portland's favored by 13, and obviously
And we
lost.
both picked Portland, huh?
No, I picked Golden State, dude.
Oh, I knew I should have picked Golden State. Damn.
I picked Portland to win, but I said Golden State would cover because Portland would mess around and let them hang around.
Yeah. So then Wizards versus Pistons. That was Wizards by 3.5. I picked the Wizards, huh?
Yep, and I picked Detroit, so
Wizards won 115-99, so we're 1-1 on those. And then Nets versus Pelicans. The spread was what?
4.
And I picked Pelicans.
We both picked New Orleans, yeah, so we lost that one because Brooklyn covered, right?
1 and 2, and then Rockets versus Grizzlies. The spread was 5.5. And I picked Memphis. You picked Houston, huh?
Yep. And what did they win by?
Rockets won by 7 points, so I almost got that. That's rough. I'm 1 and 3 on that. Bucks versus Timberwolves. Bucks were favored by 7.5. Bucks won by 28 points. Yep. So
easy cover there. And then Phoenix ended up beating Philadelphia. We both took the 76ers. So.
I was on the fence with the Suns, man. You convinced me to take the Sixers. I need to be more bold in my picks. So I went 2 for 4. You went 4 for 2?
I went 3 and 3, I think.
You went 3 and 3? Okay. So we'll do that again on Wednesday. We're going to keep a running tally. And maybe could do some community polls on Twitter or something and see I don't know, or maybe in the not in the community tab, that'd be too many polls, but maybe on Twitter we'll I don't know how I'd logistically do that, but it'd be fun to include more than just me and you. But
yeah,
I don't know, but it'll at least be me and Eric just kind of keeping a running total about how well we do. So each Monday, Wednesday, Friday on our podcast, we're gonna pick games with Vegas spread, and we're gonna pick.
Well, we could have ours. Like yours, mine, and the community pick.
Yeah, I just don't know how I'd get them to vote. Maybe have somebody from the community pick each time with us.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be something cool. Each Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So if you're interested in that, follow me on Twitter. Or
if someone does a donation or something, they could make picks with us.
For sure. Actually, yeah. Maybe the first person to make a $1 donation on our podcast can pick. I don't know. We'll figure something out because it'd be fun to do a community record too. So you starting off 3 and 3. I'm 2 and 4. Let me see. We got 8 games on Wednesday. More games to pick. So
all right.
So alrighty. So I'm tuning off, guys. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. The People's Mix, you are not blocked. Sorry, man. There's just a lot of comments. And it's hard to kind of balance talking about our thoughts on the game as well as keeping up with chat when it's moving fast like that. So,
and to those that don't like the negativity, we're sorry, but it helps us to vent when we see issues and we need to communicate them.
And it's legitimate concerns, you know what I mean? We're going to call things like how we see it. That's just kind of the way this channel is going to be. And if people just want something a little bit more positive, then there's other content from Blazers media guys that'll fit that a little bit more. So it's not necessarily for everybody, but for the people it's for. You guys riding with us, and I appreciate it. I appreciate that. So I'm wrapping up because my voice is getting sore. My voice is kind of going away. I need to go get some water. But hopefully these 2 days off the Blazers can fix some things and be competitive in LA against the Clippers on the 7th. We'll have our podcast on Wednesday, and then we'll have the post-game show on Thursday, which I won't be in this room. I'll actually be moving out earlier on Thursday, so that'll be fun. Anyway, so that's all I got for this outro. That's it for me and Eric. We'll catch you guys later. As always, peace out. Go Blazers.